Amazing. Welcome in, guys. So we're actually starting on time. I was organized enough this time. Anyways, good to see you guys. VSL here with Anti-Animal Use. We're here actually, we're still in Portland, but we're at the Pioneer Place Mall. I don't know if you want to come in more. It's up to you. We're by the Pioneer Place Mall. Pam is here. I know a lot of you have been asking, where's Pam? She's back. So we're out by the Pioneer Place Mall. There's a lot of people out here that, they're just enjoying their day, taking leisure. We're hoping to catch a few of them, have a few conversations, and let us know if you can hear us. You should be able to hear us, but it is loud over here, so definitely let us know. Anyway, I'm going to pass the mic so we can all say hello and get started.
Yeah. Hello, it's Elvin. Just out here again. Doing the same thing we always do, speaking for the animals, trying to have some interesting conversations, make people think. It's always interesting, so it'll be fun today in a different spot with, we don't have the TVs, I guess. We haven't done it here without the TVs ever, so it'll be interesting to see what type of response we get from the public.
I'm Enigma on Instagram at genderless.enigma, and looking forward to having some hopefully open-minded conversations today. Did you want to say anything, Pam?
I'll introduce myself. I'm Pam. Hello, everyone. Love you. That's it.
Awesome. Cool. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So like we were saying, we don't have the TVs because I left the battery in the hallway. That's a good spot for it. We're going to be just using our signs by the Radical Vegan. If you're not following the Radical Vegan, go check her out, Alexandria. She also has a website called Write Loud Vegan. Definitely check it out. You can download all of her designs that she puts up there that are great. This is just like one example. There's a couple of them. We even have these blue ones that she specifically designed for us, which are really nice. Yeah, colorful, and they get right to the point. And they just show like traits. What if someone's stronger? What if they're smarter? What if they speak another language? What if they have different DNA? Do any of these qualities or traits justify violating someone, Let's see, who's in here right now? Tato, I see you. I see Spooky Base. Good to see you. Hi, Axel, I see you there.
Hi, Savvy. This is Savvy.
Savvy, yeah. Awesome. It's really good to see you guys here. Make sure that you're liking. Make sure you tap on that heart whenever you get. Oh my gosh. Hey, Mel, Steve. Let's go.
Steve. Good to see y'all.
It's good to see you guys. I actually was looking over your live this morning. Thank you guys for doing that, being active. It really does inspire us to get out there more. While you guys were streaming, we were actually on a stakeout, checking out our own local slaughterhouse and just, seeing what's going on. And yeah, it's just thank you for, pushing more activists to get out there and look at these things, because that's really needed. We needed to shine a spotlight on these places, so appreciate that. And Nick, I see you.
For anyone who's joined more recently, we're here in Portland, Oregon at Pioneer Place Mall, and we're looking to have some discussions with folks about animals and ethics, and ask folks here in person and as well to you in the chat, is it ethical to use other animals, to exploit them for entertainment, food, or clothing if we have other options? What do you think? Put your thoughts in the comments. To everybody who's here, continue double tapping that screen and sharing the live as we're just getting started so we can reach all of y'all cool people.
You guys are rock stars. Thank you, Annick. Really appreciate that. Yeah, we just wanted to talk about veganism. Let's start, I guess, with the definition. I was talking about this earlier. Veganism is an ethical stance against the exploitation of sentient beings. So, if you can avoid demanding someone's exploitation, you should. Hey, Heretic, I see you. Another damn vegan. Oh my God, we are piling in. That is exciting, guys. I really appreciate you being here.
Hello, Vegan Heretic.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Thank you, Chase. Yes, exactly. Like, subscribe. So, if you think that we should avoid demanding someone's exploitation, then, why not live vegan so that you live that value in every aspect, What makes animals less deserving of that respect? Is there something you think you need from animals that might justify what we do to them?
To any of the non-vegans who have joined more recently, we're not necessarily here to argue, but just open up conversation and ask about something that we don't think about often, which is animals and ethics. Do you think we can justify treating animals as objects if we can treat them as the beings that we share the planet with instead?
Right now, we are doing a job. We're standing up for vulnerable individuals. That's all that matters in this moment. So if you're worried about our occupations, though, you can send us a message privately, and we'll tell you how much we care.
There's a lot of people here already. I'm wondering what the spread is. So for vegans put a 1 in the chat. Non-vegans put a 2. Non-vegans a 2. And trolls a 3, if we have any trolls here.
I'm good, thank you.
Awesome.
Hi, Mel and Steve again.
Oh, yeah.
Happy to have y'all here.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to talk to you.
Can I just know what this is about?
Yeah, it's about oppression and justice. Yeah. It sounds general, but it's on purpose. Awesome. We have someone curious might come by later. Hey,
Lots
that's
of
a
vegans.
decent spread.
And lots of non-vegans.
Leather crossbody bag though, so.
Well, I mean, so even though there might be some cognitive dissonance, right? That doesn't mean they don't relate with the principles, and that's usually where we start. Like, where are your values? I'm sure they agree that kicking a dog for entertainment and exercise is immoral. So we could lead from there that, yeah, they may have seen an object in just a bag, but now they might see it as that's someone's skin.
Yeah, we can find common ground.
Yeah.
I saw lots of vegans. I saw lots of 2s and a few 3s. I'm wondering, to the non-vegans, what do you think justifies exploiting other animals in 2026?
Yeah.
Leave your justification in the chat so that we can talk about it.
This is for animal rights. We're actually standing on the corner of 5th and Morrison in front of the Pioneer Place Mall, asking people about fairness and if they actually live in alignment with those fairness values with every sentient being. Or if they're speciesist, and we talk about what that is, what that means. Speciesism is another version of like racism, sexism, homophobia. It's all those, it's this fear of arbitrary traits and making those things that, you know, you're uncomfortable with be the reason why it's okay to violate someone or objectify someone.
Someone's wondering about halal slaughter. So we're talking about the exploitation of our fellow animals. Animals are still used and killed within the halal slaughter process against their will for a needless reason. What do you think justifies that? Let us know so that we can open up this discussion and have a back and forth. We're not necessarily here to argue. We just want to open up the discussion.
So humans actually cause the most destruction of all the beings on this planet. So that's why we're talking to them. Also, we can communicate to humans, right? We know that humans can thrive without using animals. So that's why we're here. We're just talking to those people that can make a difference.
Yeah. The bear in the woods doesn't have access to the grocery outlet, the Winco, the farmer's market that you do. So they don't have the same ethical responsibility to make choices to avoid the exploitation of others. They just don't have the option like you do.
Yeah.
But if we can treat animals as our relatives that we share the planet with rather than objects to be used, why wouldn't we? Let us know.
Just so you know, there are vegan steaks, so you won't miss out on anything.
Somebody says a bear will eat you. What's the relevance of this?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you're trying to make a point, but I don't quite understand it yet. So elaborate, please.
Yeah, what's the point?
Oh, somebody says, does that make bears immoral? So again, the
we can
bear
also see
has
here,
to
too.
use other animals to thrive. Like, they don't
Yeah.
have a choice like you do. So
Right.
we're trying to talk to folks here in Portland who, unlike the bear, they do have options, and they have an option to not exploit others. And if we have that option, we're posing the question, why not choose the non-violent, the non-exploitative option when you can?
Yeah, so we can't communicate with wild animals, but we can communicate with other humans. So once we get ourselves in order, maybe we can figure out how to communicate with other nations and figure out how we can make the world a more peaceful place. But we start with our own actions. That is not true. You need protein to make muscles, and plants have all the protein you need.
Yeah, if you think that you have evidence that you need to eat animal flesh or secretions to build muscle, leave the title of that study in the chat, because we love to engage with the evidence if you have it. So leave the title of that study in the chat. We'll be sure to check it out. To anybody who's joined more recently, we're here in Portland, Oregon at the Pioneer Place Mall, and we're opening up discussions about animal liberation. Most all of us here in Portland, we believe in human liberation, but are we consistent? Do we extend our circle of rights and compassion to the other animals that we share this planet with? Somebody says, I should not be talking about building muscle. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Anybody
because
can
I'm
talk about it.
just because I'm uninterested in personally becoming a bodybuilder or doing athletics doesn't mean that I'm unaware of the evidence or
Yeah,
the scientific
exactly.
consensus on these issues.
No,
So if you have
every vegan
studies,
has to be ripped.
every vegan must be a bodybuilder, even if they don't want to.
Even if they don't want to, they better be bodybuilders. No, again, we don't worry about other animals. We worry about our own actions first. So what can you do to stop demanding animal oppression? What can you do to stop demanding that animals be used for you? You can live vegan. Yeah, it is actually practical to feed a whole world on plant-based protein. So there's a study called Reducing Food's Environmental Impacts to Producers and Consumers. We could feed 10 billion people on a plant-based planet, whereas right now there's only 8 billion and we're starving some of them, many of them, just so that people in the West can have animal muscle in their mouth. Awesome! Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up?
Are you okay to be live on YouTube? I'm gonna have you step right in that box, and I'll step over here. Okay, make sure we're just in shot. My name's Anna. What's yours?
My name's Kiani.
Johnny?
Kiani, nice to
Kiani.
meet you.
Lovely to meet you, Kiani. So what brings you to this corner? You're just kind of wandering around.
I was wandering around.
Yeah, it's a fun place to help.
I was just curious what this is about.
Yeah, what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're just asking people. So it's pretty basic, really simple, general stuff. Do you think the powerful should have the right to oppress the powerless? And just to clarify, oppress means to prolong cruel treatment, so essentially to use someone unfairly. So do you think the powerful should have the right to oppress the powerless?
Absolutely not. I think the people should have a say in what goes on in the world.
Yeah,
Like,
I totally
with their
agree with
country.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this next question might feel like the trick. And if you feel comfortable, just know you can walk away. I don't want you to feel
Okay.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's fine.
What do you think about the animals that we send to slaughter or use for food, clothing, or entertainment, like the circus or the zoo? Would you agree that we're the powerful oppressing the powerless in that situation?
Yeah, I do think so, but I also do think that we need to eat,
Yeah,
you know,
we do need to
protein,
eat.
but they're
Sure.
definitely, I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. It's not something we often think about. It's not something that's presented to us that often.
Yeah.
Do you think that is there any like specific nutrient that you can think of that we need from animals, or is it just that you think in
The
general?
protein, 100%.
Protein?
And we have canines for a reason
Yeah.
to, you know,
So there is some back and forth about our canines, but regardless of what we did in the past, we do have evidence that today we can thrive on a plant-based diet. There's actually nothing that we need from animals. Everything that we need, we can get from plants. Your protein, as long as you get your total calories, you'll get everything you need. So with that in mind, and I don't want you to feel judged for past actions, but for future actions, what do you think in your mind justifies picking up that next animal-based product, knowing that it's not necessary? In your opinion, what is it for you?
okay. Can you
You want me to repeat it?
not repeat, but like kind of just go into depth? I don't understand what you mean.
Do you know the word vegan?
Vegan? Yes. Yes.
Tell me what you understand about it.
Understand it's a preference of only eating plants as a diet,
There is
Or
there is parts of that.
non-meat.
Yeah, so
basically.
we are avoiding animals. It's not that we eat plants, it's just that veganism is an ethical stance against the exploitation or the unfair use of other sentient beings. So if I can avoid demanding someone's exploitation, I do so, because if I was exploited, that's what I want my oppressors to do, is just stop.
Yeah.
Does that kind of align with your own principles, hearing that laid out? That
In
it's-
a way, yes.
Yeah. So
I
guess-
Sorry.
No,
I don't
please.
mean to interrupt.
No, please.
Okay. I separate like human, you know, society from animal society. That's the wild. That's the nature.
Yeah.
Everybody eats everybody there. you
Yeah, I
know?
agree. It's a different dynamic going on in the wild for sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here in our human society, we have options, which is what we're actually kind of pointing to. That you and I actually share a lot of principles. I'm
Okay,
sure you
yeah.
agree that if someone was like on the corner kicking a dog and they were doing it for fun, like they got great joy out of it and maybe some good exercise, still wouldn't justify it for the dog, right? The dog is experiencing all that, and that's not fair.
Exactly, yeah.
So we're just saying that because we don't need anything from animals, they're feeling sentient beings, you know, we should opt away from demanding their exploitation because we don't need to do it. And if we stop, one person going vegan can actually prevent 100 to like 300 animals from being born into that system.
Okay.
So
yeah,
like
that makes sense.
if you were to like save dogs from a dog meat market, like you saved one, you'd be hailed as a hero. Does this, I don't know, does this change your mind at all? Is there anything still justifying your mind?
I think I'm definitely learning something new by talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sound very open-minded. Can I give you a card?
Oh yeah, I'd love a card.
Awesome. I really appreciate that. So you can also see this live on there. If you scan that little corner thing, it takes you to antianimaluse.org. And at the top, it tells you when we're live. You can click on that and watch our current conversation and see how it went.
Nice.
You can also reach out to us if you have questions. I would recommend, though, when you're on there, it says see what I fund. Just click that. It's a 3-minute film. It's 3 minutes. It's free to watch on your phone. Would you be willing to watch that?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to ask you 2 last hard questions. I'll let you go. Is that all right?
Sounds good.
Cool. Okay, so the second to last one, if you're willing to watch that documentary, until you watch it, would you be willing to go plant-based? Meaning just don't buy any animal products, don't consume any until you watch it? Would you be willing to do that?
I don't know. I eat noodles.
You eat noodles?
Yeah.
Oh, noodles are vegan. I mean, unless they have egg in them, but most of the
Yeah,
time
no.
noodles are just made with flour. So would you be willing to go plant-based until then?
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome.
I'll try it out.
That's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
really great news. Okay, so last final question. How many more animals do you want exploited for you? Is it more than 0?
Exploited?
Yeah, how many do you want exploited for you? Is it more than, do you want them used unfairly for you? How many?
Used unfairly, as in what?
How many more animals do you want put in that position to have their throat slit or have their baby stolen? How many more animals do you want in that position? Is it more than 0?
Not more than 0.
Exactly. Yeah. That's just to make the point that those are your values, right? That's your principles. That's what we share. That I don't want to demand animals be used for me, and there's a way to opt out, and that's to live vegan. All right, I'll let you go. I really appreciate you stopping by here. I'll give you an elbow just in case, but definitely check out that card. And like I said, you can watch the live back again. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you. You too. Have a great day. Oh, that was fantastic. I love people willing to check out evidence. Does anybody want to talk to chat? Awesome.
I'm gonna check in on them. Hello. I was actually having a moment like, I kind of miss talking to chat. They've got a lot to say, so it's always nice to, see public opinion, y'all. So what's your reason for not being vegan? Plants give oxygen. Why are we eating plants? I mean, animals breathe oxygen and have subjective experience, so why are we eating them? How long have you been a vegan? I've been vegan 1 year as of like last month or something like that. I don't know. I didn't really make a day out of it, but about a year. Still alive, getting enough protein. This is a study that found animal protein builds significantly more muscle mass than plant-based protein. Even if it did, or even if it does, right? Does that justify taking the life of somebody else to get that protein when we know that we can get plenty of protein from plants? Even more, protein from plants, scientifically. Oh, I think it's Nick. Perfect. Have you had your blood work done before and after going on the vegan diet? No, actually, I didn't do any like prep or anything when I switched like my diet when I switched to a plant-based diet. And I wouldn't say you necessarily have to get your blood work done to go vegan, right? Like veganism is the mindset, but you should, like maybe before you go plant-based and start eating a plant-based diet, like get some blood work done, because a lot of people use that as a reason, or use their health as a reason, or the declining health when they switch to a plant-based diet as a reason for not actually being vegan, or not going vegan, or staying with keeping that mindset. So they need to, but what they don't realize is that their health probably was in a little bit of detriment before. So now that they've switched to the plant-based diet and getting their first blood work done, they're noticing things that they didn't notice before, simply because they'd never been interested in their like diet health prior. So steak tastes better than leaf, or you could at least say like eating a cow, slaughtering a cow tastes better than picking a plant. Like at least you're being honest, about using different words to describe what you're doing to people, because they are people. Animals are people. People are animals. Do you think it's more ethical to eat game meat than farmed animals? I mean, I don't know. I don't really think it's ethical to eat anybody. right? So I don't really know. Oh yeah, I mean like
To anybody who's joined more recently, we're here in Portland, Oregon at the Pioneer
yeah.
Place Mall. And everyone, please continue double tapping that screen and sharing the live. And I also ask the vegans in the chat to put a 1. Vegans put a 1. Non-vegans put a 2. Non-vegans a 2. And if you're a troll, a 3. I want to get a sense of everybody who's here. So put your 1, 2, or 3 in the chat. Somebody put a 4. What's that mean? Elaborate.
For life. I think it's Anik. It just says for life.
Oh, okay. 1 for life. Okay, I hear you. Anik. That makes more sense. Somebody says, I love meat. Do you think enjoying the taste of animal flesh justifies violating the bodies of animals? If you have another option, could that ever be fair from the animal's perspective? Put your answer in the chat.
I'm seeing 666. What does that mean, y'all?
Somebody says Jew, so we oppose all type of biases and discrimination, including against Jewish people.
Yeah.
We also oppose Zionism, and we believe in a free Palestine.
An abolitionist stance means that you're against all injustices.
We're not necessarily here to speak on those issues specifically today. We're talking about animal ethics and whether humans can justify exploiting and treating our animal relatives as objects in 2026 when we have another choice. What do you think? Put your thoughts in the comments.
What do you think about referring to them as relatives in general? I mean, it may seem radical to you, but prior to colonization, this may have been more, less of a radical idea, right? Seeing our earthling siblings as earthling siblings and nothing more than that. Not property, not food, just somebody who's living alongside of us, doing the best they can,
Somebody says, did you know grass screams when you cut it? Do you honestly think there's a moral equivalence between me grabbing a scissors and cutting a blade of grass and me grabbing a scissors to chop up a live cow's throat? Do you really think there's a moral similarity between those things? I'm not sure that you do.
A girlfriend used to live in a tribal village with poor vegetation and grow crops to provide sustenance for humans, and therefore animal meat was a necessity. Would you rather she have starved for your morals? Actually, no. And it's actually kind of, redundant to bring up indigenous practices. Because it just turns into tokenization. Because when you look at it, indigenous values were the ones, like subsistence, obviously. Vegans are never preaching that people who live in subsistence situations shouldn't eat meat or shouldn't subsist for their existence. We're just pointing out that, if you don't need to, like we live in Portland or we are in Portland, we don't need to. It's 2026. And even if we do need to, like you're questioning whether this is justified, like whether taking somebody's life is actually necessary. And so what we see often is that indigenous cultures are the ones who acknowledge that, being indigenous myself and Enigma as well, like we acknowledge that, indigenous cultures, tried to afford maybe autonomy a little bit more.
As much as they could, within reason. It's about doing your best and exhausting all other options. Would you exhaust all other options before eating your dog animal companion? And why wouldn't you exhaust all other options for birds, for pigs, for cows? Why not exhaust all other options before you attend the zoo and contribute to contribute to elephants and other animals being confined against their will?
We have to be, very careful when we are, judging people, because we obviously have to recognize that hunting for subsistence and needing nutrition or whatever, right? Having a need to do something tragic and something, horrible is much different than the system that we have of breeding and slaughtering thousands of millions and trillions of animals.
And that's not the situation that you're in. You're typing in the YouTube chat, which means that you're not in the middle of the forest relying on subsistence hunting. So it's actually quite pernicious that you're tokenizing poor folks and people who genuinely rely on subsistence hunting when you do not.
I see Ninja Ryan says, I can't with these idiots anymore. Why?
Elaborate.
What exactly has been said that's so incompetent to you?
Somebody says, what about insects? So vegans do not support the exploitation of insects. We don't farm them. We don't eat them. If you're concerned about accidental insect deaths within plant agriculture, vegans support the abolition of animal agriculture as well as the switch to veganic farming practices, which address incidental and accidental harm to rodents and bugs and insects as well. We can do it all, and we should.
Are you guys okay to interview someone?
I would love to. Can I talk to
You guys want me to do?
we'll just.
I'm a person. I love doing stuff.
Perfect. We'll just stand right here. Oh, actually. Okay, I'll
when
take
you
the
guys
pink.
gonna put this on YouTube?
Oh, it's on YouTube right now, so it's live.
I called in sick at work.
No. She's sick. We can do it off camera too, and just talk like this, and they just hear
Are
us.
they gonna know where I'm at? What city I'm in?
Yes,
We do announce that
where
we're
we're at.
All right. No worries.
Because I'm supposed to be on bed rest.
No worries.
And I did.
You are in the bed. Yeah, you right there. Chill in your bed. Recover. Yes, exactly. No worries. Perfect.
To anybody who's joined more recently, please continue liking and sharing the live. And to anybody who's curious, we're here in Portland, Oregon, looking for folks who want to have conversations about animal ethics. Do you think it's fair to exploit our fellow animals when we don't need to, when we have another option in 2026? Somebody says, so hunting is necessary, question mark. So if we have access to a grocery store or a farmer's market, killing an animal to eat them in the forest or in some other wild setting is not necessary, no. Yeah, our fellow animals,
Yes,
because
fellow
humans are animals. Humans are a species of animal as well.
Yeah, people try to claim that like because I'm vegan or I'm like losing my blackness or whatever, right? That's another call to erasing indigeneity, right? Black people have indigenous ties to Africa, right? And people in Africa, right, who are indigenous, practice multiple things that were related to anti-animal use, right? Like the Rastafarian diet. Maybe you should look into that type of stuff. Respecting animals is not inherently white. In fact, colonialism built upon white supremacy is one of the biggest perpetuators of that. So
somebody says we will always eat animals. So humans very well might continuously always murder each other. But would you participate in murdering other humans just because it won't be abolished or completely end in your lifetime? Or do you stand against it yourself? Somebody says, so you think shaving sheep is animal cruelty? No. So sheep have been selectively bred to produce wool because humans genetically manipulated them. So they do deserve a haircut. But we do ask, should we use their hair? Why would we use their hair when we have other alternatives?
someone says, coming from a couple guys who could never go out and get their own food. Gijish, there's a lot better causes out here.
Do you not think that veganic farming practices exist? Do you not think that we could grow our own plants and thrive?
Yeah. And who's to say, like, obviously, there's nothing powerful about being a human and having a gun and being able to pull a trigger. There's just nothing inherently, like, powerful about that or masculine. It's actually very just inherently a very something somebody in a powerless position should be, what you would think would do. But
somebody said, do you support riding horses? Absolutely not. Why
Absolutely not.
Horses are not vehicles for us to sit on the back of. Why would we ever get on their back?
Do you ever see horses riding each other?
Or do you see a human jump on a wild horse? The answer is no, because horses have to go through a process called breaking, where they're abused into submission, where they're forced to endure their subjugation as a vehicle.
Yeah.
Is that fair when we could just simply walk ourselves, use a wheelchair, use any other mobility device? We could drive.
Yeah. And there's something about, like, the expectation that all horses are going to be able to do these things, right? Because horses that can't carry people on their back may just end up killed because they can't carry or they can't run as fast. Same thing when you see people may think about greyhound dogs and be like, oh, that sucks. Like, you know, when it's dogs and they're having to be raced against each other, people are putting them down day in, day out. People see an issue with that, but for some reason when it comes to horses, they don't, because it's like we have a bond with them. And it's really funny that people always seem to say that vegans are the ones who anthropomorphize animals and give them human qualities and personality traits, but it's non-vegans and it's people who see animals as resources that are the ones to anthropomorphize animals to further like extend their exploitation of those animals.
Yeah, by calling the horses athletes, by saying they want to compete. That's anthropomorphization
Or that,
to
like, you have
justify and legitimate the exploitation of those horses.
And trying to acknowledge that there's some bond, because like obviously there's nothing wrong with saying like, you know, like I bond with my cat, you know, right, or like I bond with my dog that I take care of, right. But there's a difference when saying that bond is the justification for a use, right? Like, oh, I bonded with the horse and I bonded. Therefore, like I can use them and I can, you know, whip them to go faster when we're racing, like, because they understand, and like using that bond as a saying they understand everything that's going on when it's not necessarily true.
I want to ask everybody in the chat. So I'm going to switch up the number system, but I'm going to have you type a number in the chat.
Just a few minutes.
Yeah, like 5 to 10.
Thank you so much.
I'll have a standard. Are you okay with being on YouTube Live? Sure. Perfect. So we'll talk here. I'm gonna flip this around. Woo! There we go. Okay, so the talk is about the power versus the powerless. At least in the beginning, these are just some questions that gain common ground. Do you feel like the powerful should have the right to oppress the powerless for any reason?
No.
Regardless of like strength or intelligence? Maybe like they look a certain way?
No, not at all.
All right, perfect. And so where this question starts to gain some difference in opinion is like when we beg the question towards like animals, like other species of animals than human, right?
Sure.
Because like humans are animals. Like so the ones we use for food or entertainment, we're begging the question of like, is it oppression for them? Like should we stop that? Should we care about that? Or
Sure.
asking the questions of why having that mentality can hurt us,
Yeah.
like as whole.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Well, I always wonder. That's why I don't love zoos very much.
Oh yeah, no.
I don't love zoos very much at all. I know others people do, and my family included. I just feel like that's a form of oppression
Yeah.
and captivity, and for our entertainment.
Yeah.
Eating animals and protein and things like that. That's always been a question
Yeah.
of whether or not I should or should not. And
Like it feels necessary.
I think the way people okay that is, or society okays that is other people believe that animals don't have a soul, or they don't feel a certain way, or they don't understand pain. And I mean, I don't know if that's right.
Yeah.
I don't know. If
Like
that's right at all.
I think when we all go to bed, like we
Yeah.
can agree that, you know, all these animals they feel. Like,
Absolutely.
and so like after we acknowledge that, like what really more is there to look at?
It's true. That's fair.
And so then we look at the things like, the systems that we have in place that breed and slaughter these individuals is just completely terrible. Have you heard of veganism at all? Like,
Yeah.
just as I know there's lots of misconceptions about it. I mean, it's only 1% of the population.
Yeah.
And then I feel like there had been like a big white veganism movement that is honestly like nuanced in itself to say.
Sure.
But like, what is your understanding? I guess is what I want to
Of
say.
veganism?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the way it was kind of explained to me is that, and I could be wrong, but the way it's explained to me is that they don't need any animals. They don't need any animal byproducts. And the idea is that in itself is supposed to make one healthier, and two, the other thing is not to mistreat animals at any time, because there is a idea that those animals feel, they hurt,
Yeah.
we also depopulation some of these animals and things like that.
Yeah.
That's my understanding. When I first got brought onto the idea of what veganism is actually in Eugene, and they kind of explain the whole process and things like that.
Yeah. So I guess that is pretty much almost there.
Yeah.
So all of that, right, is the consequence of veganism. So
Sure.
we have veganism, which is going to be the mindset, right, that says I don't believe sentient beings, that ability to think, feel,
Oh, sure.
whatever, form subjective thoughts about their experience.
Yeah.
Taking that, like having that quality, where we believe having that quality means that you should not be exploited. Like,
sure.
nobody should use you or oppress you or treat you cruelly for their benefit.
Yeah.
And there's no justification for that because we wouldn't accept that for ourselves.
Yeah.
After you get into it, like you can see that like it's a lot of reasons why that people use animals or justifications that people have for using animals that people have used to justify using humans and
Yeah,
other
good
humans
point.
all over the world.
Sure.
And it's these same systems that are set up, like these hierarchical systems that tell you, man is greater than woman,
Yeah.
white is greater than black, human greater than animal.
Sure.
That kind of like started deviating us from each other because pre-colonization, what we'll see is a more like diasporic solidarity, and part of like colonialism and white supremacy and whatever is erasing that and instead putting in place systems of domination.
Yeah.
And so
like you're here for us.
yes,
Yeah, got
exactly.
you.
Because like when we look at it, like we know that cows, pigs, chickens are not even native to North America either. Like
Right.
Turtle Island,
Right.
they were not here. It was bison, it was natives,
Yeah.
and they were living in subsistence, trying to cohabitate with others.
Good point.
So all we do is out here is we're questioning people, asking them about that. Wondering maybe what's stopping them from changing their mindset on animals and going vegan, and then taking that and applying to their life where they can go plant-based, because it's the only way you can make sure that you are not like personally investing in that system, because so like that's the consequence. I say that veganism is a non-action, because all you're doing is you're choosing not to participate in the system. It's kind of like when you just boycott anything else.
Yeah.
It kind of clicked for me after I've only been vegan a year, but like a few months in, it clicked to me that it was more of a social justice, less for my health, although
Right.
it's a really great perk of doing something good. It's like, how you get to build community as a perk of not being racist.
Yeah, sure.
Like,
Yeah.
because like, but like that's not why we do it. We do it because like these people have feelings.
Yeah.
And and I really do believe like animals are people.
Yeah.
I think society over time we're gonna change the definition, because right now it's like a human who like blah, blah, blah. I don't really know, but I think a lot of people can agree like a person is just somebody we care about, whether
Yeah.
it's dog, cat, cow,
that's
chicken.
true. That's true. I also know for government standards, that's going to be a hard shift.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, and there's also financial benefits from it, things like that. So, not to say that you're not wrong for questioning whether or not is that person or that animal actually being oppressed and being used for our benefits only.
Yeah.
You're not wrong for asking that question, and you're right. It's things that I think about constantly all the time. Where
That's good, because we just need to be thinking about
Yeah,
like at the end of the day,
do.
like
And when I eat certain things, that does come into question. And I also know that the way I was brought up has a lot to do what I do now. But the awareness is really good.
Yeah.
I don't ever fault somebody for making me more aware about something, giving me something more to think of. And everything happens for a reason for me. So this conversation is really good.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But I honestly just talk. Part of it that I love about doing this is talking to open-minded people, because it just gives you a little more hope. Like, because like if I sit in my house and I don't talk to people about this all day, or I don't get online and I don't, even because like online activism is very real too. Like, I do that a lot, but if I just don't speak about
Nothing will change.
yeah, exactly.
Hey, brother, how are you?
Hello.
No change.
And so, I guess I want to ask you, like, how many, if you're, okay, so would you think about maybe going vegan, which is just a mindset change?
So it's
Keep
funny
that in
you
mind.
said that. I mean, it was a while ago, but for Lent, we decided as a family. Well, actually, we decided as a family we were going to
put down the meat.
Yeah, put down the meat, and it had its benefits. I also felt really bad in the beginning, but that was my body detoxing from a lot of the things, right? And at the end of it, I felt pretty good. The commitment was really hard. But
Well, because like the culture is so strong.
yeah, it's
Like-
true. Hey, that's Mark Field. Sorry.
What was it?
Go Zags. Nice to meet you. Sorry.
No worries.
So it's something. It's something that we talked about as a family. I mean, a while ago.
Well-
And we didn't revisit it, but that's something that maybe that we can.
Yeah, totally. That's all we ask people to do is
Sure.
like question things, continue to question them, because
Yeah.
like obviously, curiosity is the only way we can move forward. I feel
Yeah.
like in the world.
Absolutely.
And I maybe I just like I don't know. I encourage you to maybe go plant-based until you can watch some like documentaries. We have some resources if you're willing to take them. You can show them to your family and stuff
Okay.
like that.
All right.
There's even like I don't know, like there's nutrition facts on there that just like reassure you that you're getting everything you need if you need it. But yeah, just stuff like that. We have a website. It shows just a bunch of resources.
My question is, how do you feel?
I feel honestly, I feel
other than the social conflict that but how do you feel physically?
I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, like I didn't really honestly when I switched to, like you mean switching to plant-based?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't really notice anything. It was like
okay.
honestly one of the biggest. It's like
Wow.
I felt like it was either. Sometimes like I genuinely wonder if like just like the culture is so strong that it creates that mental because like they actually did a study
That's
where they fed some like one group of people nuts
Yeah.
and whatever like that, and then they fed one group of people jerky like from a cow. And then after that, they had them do like watch a documentary, and it was the people who hadn't benefited from the culture of seeing animals right as food, like so the ones who didn't eat the jerky were more likely to like accept what they had seen in the documentary as truth.
Okay.
And so it's like it shows like I don't know, it's showing like that the cognitive dissonance with like literally what's physically in your body or what the actions you've taken like just prior like for the day before.
Yeah.
I think because then they even did their what was it? They saw what they paid for their lunch the next day as
okay.
well.
Yeah. Okay.
And so like they made conscious. They noticed that the people who ate the nuts made more conscious decisions the next day.
Okay, consumption.
So just like I don't know, stuff like that. Like I generally I didn't go to the doctor. I didn't really talk to anybody. Actually, I did have like one checkup before, but it wasn't like talking about going vegan or anything. It was just like a normal checkup, and then I had gone vegan, and it wasn't like nothing plant-based. No plant-based issues that popped up, I guess is what I mean. I found out more maybe that it was like more of like the toxic culture of like trying to make it seem hard.
Yeah,
because like the world profits off of this
Yes.
entire industry,
100%.
which is like so
Even the health industry.
it gets
profits.
wicked
Yeah.
when you look at
100%.
so yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, man.
What was your name?
Darren's.
My name's Elvin.
Nice to meet you. Elvin.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, man. I
Yes.
appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too.
Oh, okay. These fruitcakes wouldn't be here if we didn't eat meat. Just because we got to a point in like time, right, from doing something doesn't mean that we should continue to do it. Yeah, let's switch.
Do you want a sign? Hey guys, what's up? Vegan food is bland. That just means you don't know how to season it. You just need to learn how to cook. Beans and flour. Actually, yeah, you could do something with beans and flour. It's a lot of things you can mix. If you actually even go on like, oh, I didn't put any earrings in today, guys. If you go on to like YouTube or TikTok, you'll actually, and type in vegan recipes, you will find your favorite meals in a vegan form. I guarantee you'll find it. Bam! Suddenly it's Anna.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Get in there. Give me your sign. Stand over here. Oh, damn. There. I also don't want us to get confused which one is the one pointed.
Yeah.
So I'll like angle it slightly so we can.
Hello to everybody who's here. We're here in Portland, Oregon. For anybody who's joined more recently, at the Pioneer Place Mall. We're having discussions about animals and ethics, opening up an ethical discussion. Do you think it's justified to exploit the animals that we share this planet with when we have other options? Leave your response in the comments and Nick and I will address them.
Someone says talk about tofu farms. In what aspect? Can you elaborate, please?
Somebody says wheat and beans are terrible for vegans. So provide the link to the scientific study that shows health consequences from wheat and bean consumption. If you have evidence, we will engage with it. Everyone who's here, please continue double tapping that screen and sharing the live. We want to have a big, broad discussion here.
Someone says vegan equals I smoke weed because I'm vegan. Yeah, you can smoke weed as a vegan. There's
no reason
just
not to.
plants, right? I mean, as far as I'm aware, I don't believe there's any non-vegan joints or strains of weed. But
Somebody says he needs some milk, like soy milk. I'll tell you that I'm not a baby. I'm not breastfeeding right now, so I don't need to suck anyone's teat. No.
we are trying. No, we'd never volunteer at a zoo.
No, we
Zoos
oppose
are
zoos.
exploitative. Oh my, oops. And they're a prison for the animals. They claim they take care of them, but
Somebody says, where are you from? We're here in Portland, Oregon, for anybody who's joined more recently. We're at Pioneer Place Mall, and we're opening up some discussions about animal ethics. I'm not necessarily here to spar with anybody here in the chat or argue, but just to open up this discussion about something that's invisibilized within contemporary society. Is it fair to use other animals if we have another choice? Let us know.
do you know how many people in the world eat meat? You guys are fighting a battle that will not be won. Well, I mean, no injustice, right, has ever been solved or by just people accepting it and just sitting around and doing nothing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, would you rather us just sit around and do nothing and want animals to keep being exploited and abused and oppressed for eternity, or is it better that we're out here speaking up for them?
Felix says, thanks for being on the street to speak up against injustice. Somebody says, I love meat. We see this one a lot, and what this comment is articulating is that you're getting enjoyment or pleasure out of the consumption of an animal's flesh or their secretions. So I just want to ask, do you think pleasure is a justifier for needless violence against animals? What do you think?
Someone says, also, I love steak. I mean, hey, there's vegan steak. Just, take the dead corpse and replace it with plants, and there you go. You can mimic the texture, everything you can still have, but just plant-based instead of corpses.
To get an idea of everybody who's in the room with us, I'm going to ask you to put some numbers in the chat. If you're a non-vegan, non-vegans put a 1, vegans put a 2, and trolls put a 3. Put your number in the chat so we can get a sense of who's here. Okay, so I'm seeing some 2s, some non-vegans. I'm also seeing some 1s and some vegans. It's a nice spread here. I'm going to ask a question to the non-vegans. At what age are cows who are raised to be killed for their flesh, at what age are they killed? At what age is their life stolen from them, on average? In months. So put a number in months in the chat. Somebody says 4 months old. They do live a little bit longer than 4 months. It's important to remember that cows live about 20 to 30 years if somebody doesn't take their life from them prematurely. Somebody says 12 months. You're getting warmer with 12 months. Somebody says 4 months. Somebody says 67 months. 6, 7, okay. I'm waiting till I see the answer in the chat. Vegans, don't spoil it if you know, because we're trying to raise awareness with folks who might not be as aware of this information. Somebody says 24 months, so this is actually above the range. 18 months, I see, this is true. So at about 18 months old, 1.5 years into what would have been a 15, 20, maybe 25-year life, cows have their life stolen from them for a needless food product. Is that fair? Is that justified? Let us know. Somebody says feed lions avocados. So we recognize that lions are not in a situation of choice because they don't have access to grocery stores. You do. You are not a lion.
Someone says if eating animals is wrong because it's alive, then you're contradicting yourself because plants are scientifically alive. Yes, plants are alive, but the difference between plants and animals is sentience. And, that is something that animals share with us, the capacity to have a subjective experience, a conscious, sentient, subjective experience, where they are experiencing the world and they can experience, all the emotions we do, whether that be joy, happiness, or, pain, fear, suffering, So the difference is plants aren't sentient. They don't have a brain, central nervous system, which are the organs to produce consciousness, meaning that, me, if I were to go pull a plant out of the ground, it doesn't care. There's nothing going on up there. So
yeah, which would you prefer to put in a gas chamber, a pig or a pumpkin? Which of those entities would suffer and gasp for air? Let us know.
Yeah, I can, or do you want to, Cooper?
Awesome. So just gonna have you stand in that square right
We're
there.
live on YouTube.
Yeah, is that all right? We're live on YouTube?
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Video card so you can find it afterwards too. You can look it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're out here talking kind of about the dynamics between the powerful and the powerless. So, like, do you believe that it's right for, the powerful to oppress the powerless? Like, if they can, like, if they're stronger, smarter, let's say, than someone or something that's like powerless, does that give like someone else the right to oppress that other person because they're not as strong or smart or?
No, I don't. I totally disagree with that. I think that like there's just a lot of people that struggle, and then there's a lot that don't, and I feel like those kind of people be looking down on them or just like and just give them like a smirk or a look. And I feel like, you know what, man, like this world is going through a rough time, and it's hard, and everything's hard. Life's not easy.
Yeah.
And I think just people need to realize that everybody's is their own person. Some people choose to live a different life, and it sucks. And but I know I see it a lot when I'm down here and I ride around on my scooter. I see a lot of I feel like the people that have it all be looking down on other people that don't, and I think that's just unfair for them because, I mean, like I said, I've been there and done it. I've been like that, and I'm not. I got my own place and I'm doing really good, and I just feel like if we all lifted each other up in any kind of way, it would make the world a better place.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. So I want to ask also though, how do you feel more not necessarily in regards to like shifting the conversation away from like more human focus, like how do you feel about the animals, for example, that we like, send into slaughterhouses, we farm, using like vivisection laboratories, like for medical testing, cosmetic testing, or like put into zoos?
I don't really know too much of that stuff. Do you know anything like that?
Not necessarily. Like it depends. Like I really don't think it truly depends. Like I feel like every creature should be treated with respect. Nature's peaceful.
Yeah.
And it should remain peaceful at all times. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like in that scenario, or like the examples I listed off, do you guys feel like that would be, kind of us like humans, for example, like in a situation like we're the powerful kind of oppressing the powerless? Because like the animals, they obviously can't really stick up to us, or they don't really have a voice, obviously to speak up for themselves. And, we're kind of sending them obviously like into slaughterhouses, like I said, or, using them and exploiting them for like medical testing or entertainment.
I feel like they shouldn't be able to do that. Honestly, I mean, animals are humans. They are, I'm going to tell you right now, they are probably more of a best friend than anybody else will be to you. So like, so that's how I feel. I mean, I don't really know too much about that kind of stuff. So
No, you're good. Have you guys heard of veganism by any chance?
I don't even know what that is.
I have family members that are vegan. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Or tell me like what you kind of like what you'd like, how would you describe like veganism? Like, what is it?
Vegans, everything's plant-based. Like they don't go to the store a whole lot and buy freezer items and things that contain 50 plus ingredients. Everything's toxic that we're eating, whether we realize it or not. We're all eating toxic food. Veganism is just way healthier than a lot of other food. It really is.
Yeah, so the diet aspect obviously is a big part of it, and that's like a consequence obviously of what we do. But we define veganism as like it's an ethical principle just against the exploitation of non-human animals or just sentient beings, right? Like because animals, for example, they're sentient like us. Maybe not all of them are quite on like obviously the same cognitive level as like us humans, but they're still like a subjective experience they're having, right? They can feel pain, fear, they can suffer. So in 2026, when we have other options, like we can make in terms of diet, obviously like plant-based foods, or where we don't need to necessarily test on animals for research and stuff like that, or use them for entertainment, just like exploiting them kind of in any way. Do you believe that we shouldn't?
My brain's scrambled. Right
Yeah,
now.
mine is too. I'm like on like, so I'm like.
Basically, like, I guess I can simplify it. So like in 2026, when we have other methods, or just basically when we don't need to use animals for anything, like here in society, like for example, maybe there are some scenarios where like someone's living out, I don't know, like in the wilderness or something, or there's certain tribes around the world that maybe like need to rely on animals for survival or whatnot. In that case, you can justify it. But like us, for example, like us three, the people around, when they can have, or they have access to like grocery stores, for example, and can, choose another option, you think we should, choose like diet, for example, choose like a plant-based option over, choosing like the meat. Because like if you purchase the meat, obviously that generates demand, so another animal is going to have to go through and be slaughtered through the system. Sorry, maybe I didn't simplify it the best. I'm kind of just...
Yeah. Well, the way you explain it makes a whole lot of sense. I don't think it's fair either way, because people are going to do what they want. We're all humans. We're not going to be next up on the chopping block. But at the same time, everything, it's hard to explain. It really is. Like, my brain's so scrambled right now.
No, you're good.
It's hard to explain right now. It's super hard.
Could I give you guys, would you guys be willing to take I can each give you individual ones, but I have resource cards. Would you guys be willing to take these?
Yeah, okay.
So, or I accidentally give you, so I'm not sure which side. So this is the front side, and then that QR code, it'll go to our website. It's antianimalist.org. It just has like a bunch of resources, and it has a 3-minute video that you can kind of see like what you're funding. Like if you, in terms of, like if you go to the store and obviously are going to purchase meat and whatnot, like it shows you, standard practice of like what animals have to go through in like slaughterhouses and stuff. So it's just like a short 3-minute video, and it also has other resources as well. Like, if you were curious about like diet, for example, and you wanted to be like, how can I get all my nutrients, and making sure I'm getting everything I need. Like there's resources on there that'll help you do that. And also, if you flip it over on the other side, there's another documentary. It's called Dominion. It's also on YouTube. It's free, but that is, I'm not quite sure how long it is. It's maybe like hour and a half maybe. But it just goes over the standard practice of, everything that happens to animals, whether that's, in the food industry, medical testing, and entertainment and stuff like that. So, I think it's just important to be an informed consumer, and like if you are going to pay for these products, you should know what you're paying for. And but if you watch that, and you decide like, this isn't something I want to pay for. I don't want another being to suffer because of my choices that like, when I can make another choice. So that's all we're out here doing. We're just trying to get people to think. And
okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, what was your name?
Brian.
Nice to meet you. I'm
nice
Nick.
to meet you.
Jacob, nice to meet you guys. Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Have a good day.
I'll join somebody.
All right. Well, I can pass it on.
All right, let's talk to the chat.
Hello! To anybody who's joined more recently and is curious where we're at, we're in Portland, Oregon at Pioneer Place Mall. And if you're curious what we're talking about animals and ethics. Mm-hmm. Could it be ethical to exploit our fellow animals that we share this planet
more
with?
More specifically, animals and your ethics. Like, fuck what we think. Like,
yeah, let us know what you think. Tell us your thoughts. Somebody says hunter-gatherers were way healthier, no comparison. So provide the link to your scientific source.
And like, can you give me an average for like how many years people or humans were living during like hunter and gathering? Like, let me know.
Somebody says tofu farming kills everything. So what this person is articulating here is the crop deaths argument. They're saying that when vegans eat plants, there are accidental harm and deaths involved in crop production. The important point here is that if we consume animals, we amplify this issue, because the animals we humans consume, they consume a lot more plants than the humans would if they just consumed the plants directly.
Yeah.
So if you're concerned about crop deaths and the land use of our current crop farming system, we would reduce both by transitioning to a plant-only food system. And we can also implement veganic farming practices to address the remaining incidental and accidental harm. We should address all of it. Why not?
Mm-hmm. Someone says, why do y'all look so malnourished? We are not. So it's probably your bias, putting forth ideas that maybe seem to like see us as malnourished people, even though you don't really know what malnourished is.
Yeah, you're just
you don't really know like what that classification means.
You're trying to diagnose scientific conditions through a live stream, which isn't possible. I want to ask everybody who's here to double tap that screen and continue sharing the live. And I want to ask to get a sense of who's in this room with us. For the vegans, I'm switching up a little bit. Vegans put a 1, non-vegans put a 2, and trolls put a 3. Put your number in the chat so we can get a sense of who's here. And to the non-vegans, put your best argument against veganism, or perhaps your biggest personal obstacle to going vegan. You? I'll do an interview.
Perfect.
Are y'all okay with being live on YouTube?
Okay.
Okay, I'll have you stand right here.
All right.
Okay, what is your name?
John.
John. I'm Cooper. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We're talking to people about animals today.
Okay.
What's your opinion on animals?
I like animals.
Do you
I've
have
had pets.
You've had pets, yeah.
Animal lover, it's for the most part.
With your experiences with cats and dogs, what does it teach you about their capacities or their consciousness?
Well, they're conscious. They're aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wonder, do you think there's a difference between, say, a dog and a fish or a cow in their ability to be conscious or their ability to feel pain?
No.
Do you think there's... Oh. Do you think, I wonder, do you think there's anything that us humans need from other animals in 2026? Or do we live in an era of alternatives?
We live in an era of alternatives, absolutely. I think it's tough, though. I mean, when I was in college, I spent 2 years as a vegan. And I ended up being away from that after having my grandmother make me food, not knowing I was vegan, and putting me in a pressure where it was like this favorite food from ever.
Kind of family pressure.
Yeah. And yeah, I broke and I never went back, but to me, it's about making sure the animals are fully used if you're going to go that route.
Right.
The humanity, being as humane as you can, because it's going to happen, unfortunately.
I wonder if we're thinking about like kind of 3 options. If we could contribute to an animal who was exploited in a factory farm, treated very inhumanely, or we could choose to contribute to an animal being used in a nice farm where it's more humane, they're not being maybe abused as much, or we could contribute to no animals being used. What do you think is most fair from the animal's perspective?
I'd say the option with the absolutely probably not being slaughtered at the end. Not being taken into the mysterious door to heaven,
Yeah. So I wonder, when you reflect on your own principles and you know that these animals suffer and you know that we have an alternative, do you think it's fair for us humans to use them?
Oh, that's tough.
What do you think?
I'm going to go back to I don't think it's out of nature to do it. Terry Pratchett, British author, had a part where he discussed humans and the humanity and he discussed, the nature, and he kind of discussed watching a bear eat a fish and all its babies and going, hey, humans aren't much different. We're still part of that natural cycle, unfortunately. Now, do we need to absolutely do that? No, probably not. But.
Right. I wonder, do you see a distinction in the circumstance that the bear finds themselves in? They're trying to survive.
Right? We don't need to eat meat in our current society.
Right.
Understood. Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
I wonder, there's so many misconceptions in society, but what have you heard about veganism? I know you tried, it sounds like you tried veganism earlier in life, kind of veered away, but what would you define it as?
At that time, I was doing absolutely nothing to harm animals. I mean, no leather, obviously no food, no eggs, no.
Would you go to places like zoos? Did you address the entertainment aspects and the animal testing?
Did, yes.
Yeah.
I'm not one to wear makeup or deal with anything with the fashion industry as
Same
a
with
whole.
me, yeah.
As far as zoos, it really depends. If I go, one of the things I gotta say about our local zoo is I like the fact they're widening and opening the area and dealing with making sure that there's an area for endangered species to live and try to make them thrive, yes. Do I like the concrete 10-foot by 10-foot cell that drives creatures nuts? No, I don't.
I wonder if you found out that the Oregon Zoo, like that specific zoo, that they had killed animals who weren't sick or they weren't suffering to the point of needing euthanasia, but they were killed because they weren't as profitable as perhaps a baby being placed in the zoo. Would you think that that is unfair if they were killing the models who were less profitable?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I wonder what would be your biggest obstacle to taking another go at it and saying, this is in alignment with my principles. I'm going to start eating plants tomorrow and see where it takes me. What stops you?
Money.
Oh, money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't try to eat beef right now. But
It's interesting.
when it comes to, my family, I mean, I have my daughter here, but I'm also mixed family with a Filipino family. And I would say, we have 7 children as a whole between everybody. And, feeding that many people on just a vegan diet would become very rough, and especially with the age differences and everything, you want to make sure everybody's getting enough protein. So, one of the things we rely on a lot is eggs. So it's not necessarily meats, but it's the eggs and the peripherals to get the protein. And we can do the rice and beans, but also when they go back home, even those become a lot more restricted, like you can find when you're in Weepa City,
I wonder if you found out that there was, an affordable way to make it happen, and it was maybe actually it would save you money in your grocery bill. I only ask you because that was my personal experience.
Yeah.
Because there was a study done recently by Oxford University, and it demonstrated that plant-only diets that focus on foods like potatoes, lentils, beans, rice, grains, local fruit, veg, they found it was 30% more affordable than the omnivore options. I just wonder if you saw that evidence, and if you found that to be the case, you would be interested?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll ask you a couple questions before I wrap up, and then I'll hand you a resource card that gives you some of that information.
Yeah.
How many animals, when you think about your own ethical system, how many animals would you prefer are used, exploited, and killed for you in the future?
In a perfect world, none.
0, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, to be fair, yeah. Yep.
Do you acknowledge that?
Oh yeah, you have the quote up.
What is the quote?
Loud and proud.
I can read it too if you're nervous.
It's from George Orwell.
Oh.
Man is the only creature that consumes without producing. He does not give milk. He does not lay eggs. He is weak to pull the plow. He cannot run fast enough to catch the rabbits, yet he is lord of all the animals. He sets them to work. He gives back to them the bare minimum that will prevent them from starving, and the rest he keeps from himself from Animal Farm.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. Did anything come to mind when you read it that you want to share? No pressure.
Exploitation of the animals. I mean, that's what Animal Farm was about.
Yeah.
That's why they started Animal Farm.
Okay.
It's about more than that, obviously.
Uh-huh.
I mean, obviously that was a powerless. If you look, I didn't think about Orwell.
All right.
Yeah,
So I'll wrap it up with the last
Yeah,
one.
sorry.
Okay, continue. What were you
I've
reading?
just been reading a lot of Orwell, and so the questions been asked have brought that Animal Farm up.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of powerful information to be gained from reading that type of author. I wonder, you acknowledge that 0 animals would be your ideal for the future. Do you acknowledge that going vegan is in alignment with that principle?
I do, 100%. I mean, it's tough because, I deal with this because ever since I switched back, I've always had to deal with this.
You've been it's kind of in the back of your head
Always.
a little bit, right?
It's funny because, I hate to see any animal die. There's a reason I don't have fish. I couldn't even stand the fact that my fish died. It was 50% of fish can survive overnight.
Yeah.
When you put them in a new tank, I was like, I can't do it. So it's been hard to reconcile.
Yeah. Okay. One more.
Yeah.
Do you think it's fair, because you're obviously somebody who's very compassionate and you're thinking about these things, and I don't expect that from every person that walks by. If we can't expect people like you to make the change, then who will? You don't necessarily have to answer. I'm just going to leave you with that.
No, I like
and I'm
that.
going to
That's
hand you a
good
card.
point. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. I really appreciate both of you stopping by.
Yeah.
You're so enlightening with your quote, and you're so open-minded. I appreciate both of you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It was nice to meet you.
This is our card here. I'm going to show you this side. It's antianimaluse.org.
Yeah.
And on here, there's a button on the website, if you go to it, that says "See What You Fund."
Yeah.
And it can kind of help bring that to the forefront in your brain again. You know, what these animals are going through, just so you can make that connection and decide if you want to continue contributing to it, or make another choice.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Wait. I'm awkward. Don't mind me. Thank you. Have a good day. Don't mind my awkwardness, folks. I'm not good with handshakes. Yes.
Oh, no. Oh, I was gonna say. Awesome. Hey guys, what's up? VSL is back. What's up? So the thing is, I understand that people feel there's a change that needs to happen and a half measure feels like it's a good idea, like vegetarianism. But the thing is, when you use someone for their milk, their eggs, or any other part of their body, you're still seeing someone as a something, as a resource for you to use. Just because someone produces a lot of hair, that doesn't mean that you should take their hair from them, right? So that's why we're saying vegetarianism isn't enough. Veganism is the rejection of exploiting someone. You're not demanding anybody be exploited for you. With one. Well, actually, whoever just said that comment about one, I'll start my comment with one. If you're a vegan, type 1 in the chat. If you're not a vegan, if you're non-vegan, type 2 in the chat. And if you're just a troll, go ahead and type 3 or whatever you want. And I'm curious for those, as we're waiting for the numbers to roll in, those that do type a 2, could you please let us know what is it that in your mind makes it okay to demand animals go through exploitation when you don't need to demand they go through that? All right, we've got a decent spread in here. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. Okay. Because I'm not mentally, well, that's rude. Abortion has nothing to do with exploitation. There you go. The food chain. So the food chain is actually just showing you that the transfer of energy in any given system. So when the carnivore consumes the herbivore, you're losing 90% of the energy that went into the herbivore. But that's aside from ethics. That's not nothing to do with actual veganism. Veganism is against the exploitation of someone. So regardless of how good it is for the environment, regardless of health issues, I don't want to demand someone lose everything, right? If I can avoid demanding someone's exploitation, I do so. It's that simple. Well, if you feel bad for the animals, I suggest you actually go to antianimaluse.org, which is our website. I know it's backwards, but antianimaluse.org. And go watch the 3-minute movie challenge. Just click on see what I fund, and you'll see a 3-minute movie challenge. Watch it right now. Ask yourself, do I really actually feel comfortable defending this, supporting this, giving my money to those people? Most people don't. Most people avoid looking at that footage because they know it's going to put them off, because they don't want to see someone suffering. Hi. Awesome. It's good to see more vegans out there. Thank you, Chase. You can see the link. Chase just pinned it, or just put it in the chat. 3-minute movie challenge. Go watch it. Ask yourself, do you really want to support that? If you feel bad for plants, you should still live vegan, because we feed most plants to the animals that we use. So you're feeding your sentient plant friends to the sentient animals that you're also going to enslave. We'll see. When done right, it's a fair trade, offering protection to disease, free life for a heart on theirs. So would you accept that deal? If someone's like, I'm going to give you shelter, I'm going to give you food, I'm going to take care of you, but I get to decide when your life ends. I decide if and when you get pregnant. I decide if and when you're going to keep your baby. That wouldn't be fair. Why do you feel like it's okay to exploit plants? They're not sentient. They don't have a brain or central nervous system.
Doesn't matter when I come over here and look at the screen. See that nose ring?
Oh yeah, that's just.
I'm honestly getting tired of joking about seeing it so often
And
too.
you have to ignore it, right? It's just you just ignore it at that point.
Yeah.
So we're here in Portland, Oregon, in front of the Pioneer Square Mall, and we're here to ask people about fairness, what their principles around fairness are, and if they're actually living in alignment with how they think they should be treated fairly. Are they treating others the way that they want to be treated? Thank you, Chase. Again, go check on that 3-minute challenge. Go see what you fund. Ask yourself, do I really want to contribute to that? Do I really want to support that? Yes, this is Portland, Oregon. Yes. Yeah, exactly. A lot of people are like, I can't face this, so I'll just ignore it. I mean, it's funny to come in here and tell me to stop bothering people. You came into my life to tell me that you're bothering me. So you're doing exactly what you're condemning me for doing. That doesn't make sense. You're already contradicting yourself. So again, animals that are surviving a harsh environment, they're not moral patients to human logic, right? They have their own morals and logic and culture in their own spaces. Every animal lives in its own ecosystem, right? So they are surviving that system. They don't have options like we do, and they don't really have the time or the privilege to think about, others and their feelings and whatnot. We, as beings that are sapient, those of us that are moral agents who understand the repercussions of our actions, right? We can make change, and it's us that if we make change, it makes it easier for others to change. So if you can live vegan, you should absolutely be doing so. I mean, I say that, and everybody can actually live vegan regardless of your access to anything. The weather is actually not bad. It's kind of overcast, but it's not like too cold or too hot. So animals have a brain and a central nervous system. The plants do not. Plant farming kills the environment. Well, again, we're feeding most plants to the animals that we use. So we're talking about the victims, though. Like, even if it took more plants to eat plant-based, I would still advocate to eat plants because they're not sentient. Okay. So it's not an either or, it's none. You don't need to use any of them. That's what I'm saying. Understand that the animals what? You understand that animals die and grow in your crop? Yes. So we can actually improve crop farming so that we don't have crop deaths anymore. You can't remove the exploitation from enslaving someone, using them without their consent. Oh, way to go, Sabby. I didn't know, or Spooky. I didn't know that it was 7 years. Wow, congratulations. Hey, what's up, Daniel Broccoli? Get Cooper. Why? Oh shit, Chip's in here. What's up? Hi, Chips. Good to see you. This could be you one day, Chip. You could be here with us. Rebecca just showed up too. So you can be pro-life or pro-choice and vegan. If you're avidly one or the other and you're not vegan, you're actually living out of alignment with your own principles, because you're either stealing someone's sentience, right? Or you're robbing them of their autonomy. So if you're a vegan, type 1 in the chat. If you're not vegan, type 2. And 3 if you're a troll. Yeah, again, plants don't have a brain or a central nervous system. Plants don't think. Awesome. Okay, let's see that spread. 1 if you're a vegan, 2 if you're not a vegan. If you're not vegan. 1 if you are, 2 if you're not vegan. And 3 if you're a troll. I see some don't know how to follow instructions. All right, so those that are not vegan, can you please tell me, what is it that you think justifies using animals, knowing that they're sentient beings who can feel and that don't want to be used? Plants don't think, LOL. They're pretty smart. They are intelligent but not sentient. Mushrooms are also not sentient. Animals do think. We actually have evidence that they are sentient. There's the Cambridge Declaration of Consciousness and the New York Declaration of Consciousness. Do you want to jump in?
Hey, I just wanted to say hello.
I'm so happy you're here.
I was a little late, but I'm here.
That's okay. If you can be here at any time, we love having you here. So
Yeah.
There's no late.
So I'm Rebecca, and I'm the Uncaged Front. I have a blog at uncagedfront.org, and just here to support the group today. Hello. Hey, Broccoli. Hello to all the awesome vegans here. And thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you being here, and the mods. You all are awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got lots of people in there. Yeah, so go check out that 3-minute film.
Yeah.
I believe Chase keeps putting it in the chat, but if you don't see the link, you can go to antianimaluse.org and click on See What I Fund, and you'll see the 3-minute video right there as well. Awesome.
Okay, I'm going to try and have a conversation.
Okay, cool. I'm fine. I don't know. I'm sure Rebecca's good too. I do eat vegan burgers, so like the stream. Being vegan is not a first world privilege. It's actually something that's actually very patronizing to say that. I think all people no matter what their situation, are welcome to the table, the conversation of ethics about, animals and their sentience. What's wrong with someone who's in a desperate situation to know that animals care about what happens to themselves? I think regardless of how desperate you are, you should understand the gravity of any situation. Yeah, there it is, Chase. Thank you so much. You're a champ in the chat. Thank you so much for posting that. Please go follow Chase, also a great animal rights activist, posts great content, constantly active for the animals, always speaking up, makes great, awesome music. Please go check him out. What do you mean mouse versus cow? I don't know why you're asking me that. So veganism, again, is against the exploitation. Exploitation means to use someone unfairly for your benefit. So animals that are in the fields, I'm not demanding they be there. The farmers don't even demand that they be there. They enter on their own free volition, right? And the farmers would prefer if they just leave. And they've done studies on this. Most of these individuals that are in the fields actually run away when the machines are going through the fields. What mostly gets these animals are the predators. Once they've cleared the fields, a lot of the animals that live in those fields are a little more exposed. So then you have the predator birds that come in. That's where all these animals are getting wiped. The thing is, if that land was left alone to be wild, you would still have predators predating on prey animals. So there's no way to know if the harm is actually increased from the plant farming or if it's just what would naturally happen in a plot of land where wild animals can frequent. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not necessarily that we're farming that's causing the animals to pass away. It's something that we can improve, though. But you can't remove the exploitation from enslaving someone to use them. Okay, I did take a second from looking from the chat. Let's see. Animals are eaten by other animals. So again, you are a moral agent. They are moral patients. They don't understand human morality, right? They live in different circles. They don't have the same access to resources that we do. So looking at them is like saying a child is doing something immoral. I should be allowed to do that immoral thing too. It doesn't make sense. I think the predators killing them hunt more, don't you think? I think the predators killing them hurt more. Yes, but the thing is, again, we can reduce the number of animals harmed or killed in crop deaths or crop production. You cannot do that for animal ag. There will always be exploitation of a sentient being. That's the way it'll always be. And if you're worried about those crop animals, we use most of those monocrops to feed the animals you use. So, I mean, again, you would just live vegan. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but you would eat the plants directly. Yeah, Portland's great. Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with you guys.
Somebody says, what about crickets and insects? So veganism is also in opposition to the exploitation of insects and bugs. And if you're concerned about accidental harm to insects and bugs within plant agriculture, vegans also support a transition to veganic farming practices that can address the remaining harm and accidents that happen within plant agriculture. We support abolishing every form of needless cruelty. If we can make a difference in somebody else's freedom, and why wouldn't we?
Yeah. We invented the earth, so it's okay if we eat animals. I think you need to go back to biology. We didn't make the earth. Do you mean that we've made the current systems we're in? That means we can change them too.
He says, what if you can't grow crops because animals are destroying your crop fields? So we can defend ourselves. We can try to defend our crops. If they're our only source of food and they're being decimated, we're all going to die unless we don't do something. We should try to do less lethal options first. Why not start with building a wall or raised garden beds where other animals can't access and burrow into the soil areas?
Put plants down that deter them.
Yeah, there's so many things that we can do before deciding, let's just go kill rodents. Let's just go kill them off, premeditated.
I see, do vegans support beekeeping? No, we do not. There are welfare issues, but the main issue is that you're enslaving someone to make honey for you. They make honey for themselves, not for you.
To anybody who's joined more recently, we're here in Portland, Oregon at the Pioneer Place Mall, and we're asking folks about animal ethics. I'm going to ask everybody in the chat to continue double tapping that screen, continue reposting and sharing the live so that we can have a bigger discussion. I'll ask the non-vegans in the chat, post your biggest obstacle to going vegan so that Anna and I can address it. We're not necessarily here to argue, but just to talk with you and talk about something that we don't talk about often.
Yeah, you don't need to eat honey. I keep seeing honey being brought up. Honey is an unnecessary product to use.
Yeah, why not choose another sweetener that the bees don't perform
Sugar,
so much labor to
syrup.
produce?
I mean, agave you apparently need to keep your eye on. There's some questionable habits for some of the plants being grown, but there's other sweeteners, right? You can find something else.
Somebody leaves an interesting comment. Somebody says, I have 3 sets of canine fangs. I can't eat plants.
3 sets? 3?
Describe, like, I'm literally confused by your comment. Like, why wouldn't you be able to eat plants with sharp teeth?
Yeah.
What would be the
unique-
barrier?
That would be a unique mutation.
That might help you. I don't know.
Actually, there is talk that our canine teeth are more to intimidate and to pierce the flesh of fruit or vegetables. Things that have harder outsides.
Somebody says meat is yummy. Do you think the enjoyment you get from consuming, for instance, a pig's flesh, does it justify exploiting and using the pig when you didn't need to do it?
Right.
Somebody says that's a lie. If you think we've spread some misinformation, please elaborate. Please post another comment in the chat so that we can hear what you're talking about.
Someone to have a conversation, please. I'll have you just stand right in that box. We're live on YouTube. Is that okay?
Sure.
Awesome. So my this camera right here.
All right.
My name's Anna. What's your name?
D.
Lovely to meet you. So we're just asking people about the powerful versus the powerless. Do you think the powerful should have the right to oppress the powerless?
I mean, obviously not. I mean, look at this country right now. We got the dumbest people imaginable with money they don't deserve controlling everything.
Yeah, that's not fair when someone uses their power against others to benefit themselves, right?
Obviously not.
Yeah, I agree. That's just to find our common ground. This next one might feel like the trick, but I promise you it's not a trick. I'm just trying to open up the perspective. So what do you think about the animals that we use for food, clothing, entertainment?
Oh, are you guys with PETA?
No.
Okay.
No, we're anti-animal use. We're our own small group. We're originated here in Portland. You can see most of our members right here.
All right. Yeah, if this is a matter on veganism, I'm obviously disagreeing with you guys. I'm not.
First, can we start? What is veganism so that we know we're on the same page?
I mean, an absolute abstinence from all animal products.
That is a byproduct of being vegan, but it's not what veganism is. Veganism is actually an ethical stance against the exploitation of vulnerable sentient beings. Would you say that aligns with your own principles?
That is definitely a trick question. It's not necessarily because...
It's not a trick.
I mean, it's not necessarily that I believe in eating meat unconditionally and all that. But...
Well, it's not even about the eating the meat part. It's about where that flesh came from, right? It's about the individual that was stolen from. Do you think that they have the right to not be treated like an object?
I completely understand your point. It's just, in a way, this also kind of ties in with how humans treat other humans. For example, like this thing with factory farming, which I'm against. A lot of the same people who are numb to that notion also support mass incarceration, mass deportations, that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that they're exactly the same people 100% of the time.
I can understand what you're saying with the logic, that the logic of treating people like objects is similar to how we treat other animals like objects, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I definitely see the patterns of oppression happening there in both scenarios for sure. I guess what I'm trying to get at is the fact that, like, you and I, we don't demand human atrocities. I don't demand that a human lose everything or, have an atrocity happen to them. But most humans do demand that animals experience an atrocity up to 3 times a day. And we're saying that if you just move your hand to another product, whatever your heart desires, just not the sentient being, that means everything to them, just like it would you if you were the one in the cage and your oppressor decided to not use you. So with that in mind, would you be willing to watch a documentary?
No, thanks.
Can I give you a card just for resources?
Sure.
I appreciate you taking that. So this front side there's a little tiny QR code you can scan. You don't need to though. All the information on there is on the cover. You can look it up on any browser if you want to. On the back side is how to get all your needed nutrition on a whole food plant-based diet. So I'm curious, I just want to ask you the last few couple questions. What is it in your mind that justifies using animals when we don't need to?
Well, I'm gonna get a little bit philosophical here. Humans themselves are animals, and we are really not fundamentally different from other animals. We are like lions eat zebras, some dolphins eat sharks, and etc. So we're not fundamentally different from them in that
Could I
respect.
challenge you on that?
Sure.
Lions also do other activities that we wouldn't say are moral. They commit infanticide, right? They'll kill other baby lions if they don't find them strong enough or they're competitive, right? They'll also just abandon their babies. They'll grape each other. There's a lot of things that lions and other wild animals do that we would find immoral because there's a victim involved, right?
Our closest primate relatives do the exact same things. I mean, Jane Goodall documented chimpanzees doing the most gruesome things.
Do you know she's vegan?
Oh, I didn't know. I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but that's cool. Thanks.
Well, I'm just to your point. She did see these activities happening up close with wild animals, but she recognized that we are moral agents in that you and I, we understand that there's consequences to our actions. Other animals may not understand that that's what we prioritize, so they're prioritizing surviving their harsh environments, right? We, though, have the privilege to choose between what we're going to eat. We go to a grocery store. So really for us to change our habits is just to go down another aisle. It will maybe take you 20 minutes to figure out how to eat. This is what my experience was. It took me 20 minutes to Google how to live without using animals, and then maybe a month to practice those habits, and then I don't even really think about it when I go to the store. I know the products I like. I know what I want. I know what's safe. I'll still peek at the back to know what's in there. But it's really that simple. If you were the victim, what would you want your oppressor to do? Would you want them to stop using you? Or say it's too hard and it's so convenient to use them, I'm going to keep doing it. What would you prefer your oppressor do?
That's a very good. I mean, I could prefer my oppressor do a lot of things, but they're going to be committed to doing it no matter what.
Right. So this is the is-ought fallacy. I'm not asking you what might happen, right? I'm asking you what you would prefer. Would you prefer they stop using?
Oh, obviously.
Yeah. So that's just your values. I'm just trying to tell you the animals feel the same. I really appreciate you stopping by. If you're willing, just take a look at that resource. I just encourage you, regardless of what you're going to do walking away from here, to watch that 3-minute film. I know it's hard, but if you're going to demand that someone go through that, you should see it and know, I'm asking this animal to go through this so that I can eat this or use this. And it's important to remember that because they lose everything. And you have to ask yourself, is it really that important? I do appreciate you stopping by. What was your name one more time? D, right?
Yeah,
D.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, perfect. If you want to watch this live, again, you can find it on that card, and you can rewatch our conversation, and you can also contact us and ask us any questions. Can I ask you one last question? I'll let you go. How many more animals do you want exploited for you? Is it more than 0?
Well, there's a. You got me thinking.
I appreciate you thinking. This is honestly what I had to go through too. I felt this, like I had to go question things because I wasn't sure. More than 0? I'll repeat it just so you understand what I'm trying to get at. How many more animals do you prefer? Do you actually want to be exploited for you? Is it more than 0, or do you want no animals exploited for you and still get everything you want?
None, but feel free to disagree with me. I really, really wish we would get this lab-grown meat thing off the ground.
I don't disagree. That technology is coming. I think there's a lot of money and lobbying behind animal ag. And there's I think 4 or 5 companies that run everything. They are very powerful and they don't want lab-grown meat to take over because that's going to cut into everything they've already set up. So I do hear you on that front. But as far as your choices right now, we have everything that you could need. That card has all the information you can need. There's actually something called 10 Weeks to Vegan. If you wanted some community of people that are similar to you, they're new to vegan, that they actually offer that.
Well, I mean, I'll respectfully decline, but I will put this out there. so far this year, I've eaten relatively less meat, less meat than I probably have.
I mean, it sounds like it'd be easy for you to do then.
Well, I mean, but the thing is, I say that because I mostly go off like tofu and egg recipes.
You live in one of the most vegan cities, actually. We have
that
2
doesn't
vegan
surprise
grocery stores.
Okay, that I did not know.
I actually didn't know until earlier this year. Like, we have 2. I knew we had 1. We had 2 though. It's the Realm Refillery and Food Fight.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can still find everything you need though in a everyday grocery store. If you could, I would really ask. Of anything that you walk away with, can I just get you to maybe watch that 3-minute documentary? Not at this very moment. Whenever you have a free moment, it's free on your phone. It's 3 minutes. I just urge you to have that in your mind so that you know what it is you're demanding. Because doing this doesn't make it not happen, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dee, for stopping by. I really
Hey,
appreciate
you're
it.
welcome.
Like I said, you can find. You can find the live and you can rewatch it. Thank you so much, Dee. Can I give you an elbow? Thank you so much for stopping by. You have a good day. Yeah, please.
Talk to the chat, maybe.
Yes.
All right, yeah, I should have just handed you out.
Oh, you're fine. I didn't even think about it. Are you okay on your own?
Yeah, that's fine. All right, put a 1 in the chat if you are not vegan, and put a 2 if you are. This is real quick. Vegans, do they have pets? Yeah, we have companion animals. I know most of us do here. We adopted them from a shelter, so we were able to, kind of rescue them from a situation and bring them into a better situation, and it creates like a symbiotic relationship. Obviously, like, we're taking care of them, but they also bring joy and fulfillment to our lives as well. But we don't obviously buy from breeders or people that are breeding more pets to sell. We are against that because it's exploitative, and we already honestly have an overpopulation issue, and there's already so many animals in these shelters that need homes. So, and where do we get our iron from? I mean, you can get iron through a few sources. Spinach, for example, has iron. I eat a lot of spinach, so I get some iron through there. You can also, people are going to be upset that I'm saying this. If you're really worried about iron, you can, take a supplement. You can do that as well. Or there's actually something called like an iron fish I've heard about. When you're cooking, you can put it like in the pot. Yeah, like a cast iron fish. You can put it in your pot, and that actually adds iron to your food, which is pretty cool.
Somebody says, are y'all anti-capitalists? I'm definitely anti-capitalist. I'm actually an anarchist. That being said, we're here talking about animal exploitation today, more specifically. So I'm asking you to put your response in the chat. What is the justification for humans to exploit and use other animals when we don't need to, when we have another option?
Someone said, why am I not vegan? Because protein and meat taste good. Complete protein, incomplete protein tastes disgusting, and you have to eat too much. All right, so you can get protein from many plant sources that are complete. Tofu, tempeh, seitan. You can combine certain plant foods to make a complete protein. Beans and rice, whole grain bread, as well as hummus. That creates a complete protein. Maybe you won't get a lot from there, so you might have to find something with more protein. But obviously, there's tons of complete protein sources. What's going on? Sorry, the live was being weird. Incomplete protein, tastes disgusting. And, well, I highly doubt every vegan food, if that's what you're referring to, tastes disgusting. You just, because you haven't tried every, vegan food or plant-based food.
Yeah.
It's just about finding ones that you do find that taste good. But even if they, let's say, didn't taste quite as good as, meat or eggs or whatnot or whatever, is taste really a good moral justification to exploit and harm another individual? Is that a good enough justification, getting 15 minutes of pleasure from that, and then someone has to lose their entire life? Is that a good, justification?
Somebody says, why is an anarchist protesting veganism? So it seems you're not familiar with what anarchism is. So I'm not going to engage with this too much, but I'll just say one thing. Anarchism is the consistent opposition to all hierarchies, including the hierarchy that places human animals above the other animals that we share this planet with. So that's why my anarchism informs my veganism. I find my anarchism and my veganism would be incomplete without each other, without combining the consistent opposition to all
I
injustice.
guess you could. Yeah, mine's 80%.
Is something going on with the? I mean, because there's no comments coming.
I forget how to do it on this one.
What is
do
it?
you pull up the chat and then pull it down again?
I don't know how to actually do it on here.
Sometimes it works.
Because at one point it said like
You can always read them from here.
Like this.
Okay,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, close that. See if that did it.
Oh.
No, it's still not moving.
I mean, we can just look at that one. That's fine.
Oh. It's just gonna be kind of delayed. Yeah, that's weird.
At one point it did say reconnecting, so I don't know.
Oh, I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
To the anarchist understander in the chat,
Oh, yeah.
you're wrong. It's about consistent opposition to all hierarchies, not just the states and governments. Come on, do better. Okay, but we're going to continue to talk about animals and ethics. So I'm going to ask the chat, please double tap the screen and share the live. And to the non-vegans, put your biggest personal obstacle to going vegan or your best argument against veganism in the chat so that Nick and I can open up this discussion.
Oh my god, these.
Somebody says you're wrong about beekeeping. So what justifies exploiting bees for their labor and their honey, their food source, when we don't need to? Name the justification. Somebody says because animals sustain us. This is not true for the folks like you and I who exist within the framework of grocery stores and farmers markets. If we have choices and we can choose not to exploit the animals that we share this planet with, why wouldn't we choose the non-violent, non-exploitative option? Let us know. Somebody says, where do morals come from? We base our ethics in empathy and the consideration of sentient experience. So if you have sentience, this property that allows you to feel, to be a subjective person, then you matter and your experiences matter. Some people are asking why I'm leaning forward. It's because this phone screen's a little bit low, so I'm trying to lean down to see the chat. I want to engage all of y'all. To the non-vegans, I'm going to switch it up from the last time. Non-vegans put a 1. Non-vegans put a 1. Vegans put a 2. And trolls put a 3. Put your number in the chat so we can get a sense of everybody who's in the room with us.
Someone said if we didn't harvest honey from bees, they would actually drown in their own honey. Ask me how I know. Yeah,
How do you know?
How do you know? Please elaborate on that.
Yeah, provide your scientific source that shows that bees need us to steal their food source, or else they'll, what did you say, be overflowing?
They'll drown.
Or else they'll drown? Yeah, provide the scientific source that demonstrates this so that we can engage with the evidence. We're not necessarily here to spar or argue with anybody, but we're here to open up a discussion about animals and ethics, a conversation that we don't have in our society often.
Someone said, you have no idea how many animals die to grow your organic plants. So basically crop deaths, we know this argument. So considering the fact that we grow more crops to feed the 90 plus billion land animals we, breed into existence every single year to slaughter, we would, and considering the fact that we can free up 75% of our agricultural land if we were to switch to a plant-based diet, you know how many more animals would be saved switching over to a plant-based diet, right? I mean, obviously they may have, deaths may occur, yes. I mean, we're not going to deny that, but it would be so much less so much less than on a plant-based diet versus, on an omnivorous diet.
Yeah, and we can still address the remaining accidents and harm within plant agriculture systems by switching to veganic farming practices. So it's not an either or, address animal exploitation directly or crop deaths. We can address them both, and we should.
Right, and I mean, I don't know about any omnivores, for example, that are, preaching about better farming practices for crop farming, for example. I mean, vegans are the only ones that are trying to, like organic farming. Like, we're actually trying or advocating for ways to where we can get that number, to pretty much zero, right? So, I mean, we're trying to minimize suffering and death as much as we possibly practically can. And you don't do that consuming animals.
There's a lot of people here. I'm seeing a lot of you here. I'm going to ask everybody who's here to double tap the screen and keep sharing the live so we can expand this conversation. Somebody asked where we are a while back. I'll share that we're in Portland, Oregon at Pioneer Place Mall, and we're opening up discussions in person for street interviews as well as with you in the chat about animal ethics. Can it be ethical to force an elephant to be confined in a zoo for you when you could watch the nature documentary instead? Could it be ethical to pick up the pig flesh at the grocery store when you could simply pick up a bag of beans or the mock meat instead? What justifies objectifying other animals and using them when we have another choice? Leave your thoughts in the comments so that we can open up the discussion. Somebody says thoughts on kosher slaughter. So we're against needless killing. Unless it's self-defense and somebody's attacking you, it doesn't make much of a difference to the animal, the method in which their life is stolen from them. The injustice to them is that their life was stolen from them in the first place. So what justifies needlessly taking their life from them? Let us know. Somebody says McDonald's is so good. So do you think the pleasure you get from consuming McDonald's products, does it justify what the birds and other animals are going through as a consequence? Is it, when you weigh it out, is it worth it to you? What do you think?
It's go so fast, it's hard to...
Somebody says very much justified. It's interesting that you feel that way, and I want to open up a discussion with you. Name the justification you're using if you do think it's justified. Somebody says pre-recorded, question mark. No, we're live here in Portland, Oregon at Pioneer Place Mall. Somebody says read Genesis. So this person is talking about religion, and they're asserting that religion is a barrier to going vegan. But religious folks, much like non-religious folks, do not have a mandate to use other animals. There's no religion that requires you to use other animals. So if it's a choice for you, just like non-religious folks, why would you choose to exploit other animals when you don't need to? Exactly, Savvy Coops. Like, why would we be pre-recorded? We're here live in Portland, Oregon, having outreach conversations. I'm answering your chat questions in real time. I'm confused as to how you could even come to the conclusion that this is pre-recorded. Somebody says, what about reactions to eating plants? Are you talking about, like, plant reactions? I'm not sure what you mean. Please elaborate.
Not allergic to plants?
Somebody says, why do we exploit other people? Because usually there's systems of power that have normalized systems of exploitation. We challenge the human exploitation along with the exploitation of beyond human animals. Why not oppose both? Why not be consistent? What do you think?
Oh, sorry. These chats go so fast.
Somebody says, is smacking a mosquito acceptable? So if they're just flying by and you're going around trying to kill them all, wipe them out, that's probably not fair. Why would you do that? But if they've landed on you and you've determined that they seek to harm you by biting you, stealing your blood from you, then certainly you could defend yourself. You could find justification to defend yourself. Absolutely. To anyone who's joined the live more recently, we're here in Portland, Oregon at Pioneer Place Mall. Please continue double tapping the screen and sharing the live. Somebody says, how do you feel about hunting? It's ecologically necessary. So if you're talking about the overabundance of particular animals, maybe wild boar, maybe deer, humans are the reason that these animal populations have overpopulated in the first place. So it's not fair for us to solve the problem that we caused through violence and killing. We should seek to find non-violent options to solve this issue, such as providing contraceptive to these animals.
Sorry, there was one...
Humans have killed off all of these animals. the predators that consumed these animals. So we're responsible for why their numbers are the way that they are. And if we can find a non-violent way to keep those populations from just exploding, why wouldn't we do that first?
Someone said, how do we know plants don't have feelings? Well, first of all, they don't have a brain or central nervous system, meaning they don't have the organs to produce consciousness. That's what we have, humans, and as well as other animals. These organs, that's what is producing this subjective conscious experience that, we're having, right? So, plants don't have that, and there's no good evidence to suggest, they do. They react to stimuli, but so do, like, phones, for example. Our phones are, like, intelligent, and they can react to stimuli, but they're not sentient. And it's the same with plants. They don't have a subjective experience going on. So considering the fact that if we have choices where we can choose, to choose to eat, sorry, it's getting loud, choose to eat sentient life versus non-sentient life, why not choose, to eat the one that's not sentient, because they don't suffer as a consequence of that. So animals
Chase
do,
says
though.
mother cows and their babies are killed in the dairy industry. Absolutely. So us vegans, we boycott all of the milk industries because these animals are based in bestiality to start with when they're impregnating the females to produce more cows. If the baby, after the mother's held the baby for 9 months, if the baby's born a male or intersex, they're frequently killed shortly after birth. And if they're a female, they enter the same system that their mother did. They're forcefully impregnated year after year for about 5 years, maybe 7, and then they're killed. They might have lived 10, 20, 25 years, but they're killed just 5 to 7 years into their life after being sexually violated, after having their children stolen from them so that humans can steal that milk. Do you think any of this can be justified when we don't need cow's milk products, when they don't provide us anything that the human body needs? Is it justified when we're not baby cows and we don't need to breastfeed as adult humans?
Do microorganisms have value? No, I wouldn't say.
If they're not sentient.
If they're not sentient, then no. And if, like, you're specifically referring to, like, bacteria, for example, bacteria, obviously, it's harming you, right? If I get an infection or a disease of some kind, like, obviously I have every right to take, like, an antibiotic, for example, and kill that bacteria because I'm defending myself, from the harm they're trying to cause. So
Somebody asked, can vegans eat eggs? Vegans choose to boycott egg industries for similar reasons that they boycott milk industries. All of the birds that are born into the egg industry are killed. The males are killed at 1 day of birth because they're seen as disposable, as they'll never produce the eggs that the industry wants from them. The females, when they might live 5, 10 years, they're killed just 18 months into their life when their egg production declines. Another thing that's important to consider with the egg industry is that the females who are laying these eggs, their ancestors might have laid about an egg every month, but they are laying about an egg every day. Do you think it's fair to force a bird to push an egg out of their body every day for you and to kill them 18 months into their what could have been a 5 or 10 year life? Does any of this sound fair from the bird's perspective? Let us know what you think.
someone said, I love milk and milk products and will never feel bad. So let me just ask you, do you think the pleasure you get from consuming and taking that from another animal justifies what happens to them? Because mother cows or dairy cows, right? They're forcibly impregnated, and when they give birth after 9 months, they're like us. 9-month pregnancy. So when they give birth, their baby is taken away from them straight away. And if it's a male, usually it can be raised for, I guess not raised, but they'll basically slaughter it for veal in a number of ways. But if the calf is female, she'll obviously repeat the same cycle as her mother, but this happens for a few years with the dairy cow, and continue to be exploited and have their babies taken away from them until their milk production declines, and then they're ultimately sent into the slaughterhouse. So knowing that, why would you want to support that and pay for that when you don't need to consume their breast milk? You can choose a different option. There's tons of plant-based milks. There's soy milk, there's oat milk, almond milk, rice milk, coconut milk. Yeah.
We could go on cashew milk. Somebody says that's false. Chickens lay once a day. So if you listen carefully to what I said the ancestors of the birds that humans exploit, they laid about an egg every month. It's the current chickens that are raised in factory farms that are laying an egg every day.
Someone said, do you value humans? There we go.
To anybody who's joined more recently, we're here in Portland, Oregon. We're at Pioneer Place Mall. Everyone, please keep double tapping that screen and sharing the live.
Someone had said, do you value humans more than animals? And it's not about valuing one over the other. I mean, if you won, you can value humans over animals. That's fine, but does that mean you need to pay for, an animal's exploitation because you value humans more? Just because you value humans more doesn't mean you need to fund industries and pay for harm and exploitation to another animal. You can just go about your life, just making sure that your dollar isn't going and funding exploitation, right? But you don't have to be out here like us advocating for animals if you don't want to. You just have to change your lifestyle a little bit so you won't be exploiting other animals. And then you can go out and then you can protest other humans' rights issues if you'd like, if that's what you're passionate about.
Said if they die of old age.
I mean, I guess that's technically a loophole. I mean, if the animal dies, it wouldn't necessarily be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Are you guys live?
well,
Yeah, we are, but
we
we're.
have questions about oppression.
Would you be willing to? Well, I mean, if you want to participate in our.
Yeah, I'll say hi.
But
I mean, I'll participate.
Well, it might be a little more serious. I don't know if they're down for it's okay.
It's like we're having a conversation. Do you want to do it
Like
or?
a thought experience.
Yeah,
I can
sure,
if you want.
whatever.
Or,
Either or, I don't mind.
yeah, perfect.
We'll have you stand right here.
Yeah, we'll have you
Yeah,
stand.
have a box here. And then we have questions here.
Okay.
So-
I'm doing it live.
We're kind of out. We're out here talking about the dynamics between the powerful and the powerless. So, do you think that if, say, someone's stronger or they're smarter than someone else, do you think that gives them the right to, oppress someone else because they're not as strong or smart?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how strong you are or how smart you are. You be kind, you be respectful to everyone. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit.
Right. We all totally agree.
Yeah.
I do want to ask though, how do you feel about the animals, for example, that we send into slaughterhouses or use in vivisection laboratories for medical testing and stuff like that, or entertainment even circuses, zoos? How do you
It's
feel
not
about
nice.
that? Yeah, we agree. And do you think in that situation we're kind of the powerful oppressing these animals? Would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think we should be doing that or
No.
no? Have you ever heard of veganism?
What?
Have you ever heard of veganism?
Yeah.
What to you or or explain to me what you think it means?
Veganism? Being a vegan?
What do you think it kind of how would you give me a definition sort of a definition to you what you think?
Not eating meat, not hurting the animals, not doing anything that's harmful to animals.
Yeah, right. I mean, basically, it's just an ethical principle against the train's loud. Against the exploitation of sentient beings or non-human animals, right? So just if we have the choice, not to cause another sentient being to suffer, right? It's why not make that choice over the one that does cause them to obviously suffer? So
We
it's
should treat humans and animals with respect and kindness.
Right, exactly. So in 2026, for example, when we have other options, maybe not everybody in the world, for example, maybe someone's living in certain scenarios where they don't have, options say us, we do. But if we diet, for example, if we have the option to choose a plant-based option over meat or eggs or
Plant.
Right, exactly. So, would you be willing to look into veganism and if I have a resource card, would you be willing to check it out?
Yeah, I actually have thought about it. The only problem is I love meat, I preach about being nice and kind to everyone, because you should, animals included. But it's good. Animals are good too.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I mean,
Like
Can't lie,
they're-
I mean-
they taste good. Like chicken's good.
Well, yes. I mean,
You know?
animals, they do taste good.
Yeah.
But do you think that justifies, or they can taste good, but do you think that justifies, what happens to them just because it, like, tastes good for us, right? Because, like, think about it this way. A meal for us may last 15 minutes, for example, but to them, that's, like, their entire life, right? And you have the other option. Why not choose that? And, like, you can make, plenty of plant-based food that you can make taste pretty much just like meat. So.
Yeah, there's like one to run replicas of about like with basically any meat made of, but it's just made of plants. But like they hide it and like they make it seem like it's inaccessible.
Yeah,
so
no,
that we
it's
don't
not.
think it's there.
Yeah.
So would you be willing to discard and?
Yeah.
So right here, this actually goes to our website, so you can scan that.
I don't take the card. I just scan the thing.
No, you can take the card.
Oh, okay.
But
I'll take the card.
you can also just look it up. I know sometimes QR codes can be finicky, so I mean, if you don't feel comfortable, you can really just look it up and find us there. And also, this is a documentary on here. It's called Dominion. It's also free on YouTube, so you can watch it that way. But it just goes over the standard practice of everything that happens, to animals in slaughterhouses, as well as other industries like I said, like medical testing or entertainment and whatnot. So you can watch that and just see. And there's also a bunch of resources for diet and we have resources on there. You can make sure you're getting all the nutrients and everything you need. And
Plus,
so
we gotta be, guys. We cannot destroy the animals, and we cannot end their lives anymore. Okay, we gotta respect animals and ourselves. We gotta.
Because we are animals.
Yeah, we gotta respect ourselves too. Okay. Love you all. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Have a good day.
Bye.
All right, well.
That was a great conversation. Someone likes porterhouse steak with garlic juiciness. We like mushroom steak too. Oh, I think you need
Yeah.
you can make a bunch of things with plants as well that taste and look just like their corpse counterparts. You know what I mean? Just all sorts of things you can do instead of taking somebody's life. All right? Super easy. Why isn't it popping up? Chat filter, all messages. No, change it to no. Someone said, "Oh, hi, Louie. I see Louie. Veganism does not entail."
Yo, Rebecca, and I'm like,
Who was that? Yeah. Don't know. Louis says veganism does not entail being pro-choice, so chill out with spam abortion. Yep. Thank you.
Yep,
Be
that's
great.
right. We're not out here talking about abortion. We're out here for the
Seriously.
animals.
I guess we might just have to read from here for a moment. The Impossible Burger gave rats cancer. I mean, even if that's true, like, does the Impossible Burger take somebody's life to get made?
Yeah.
Like, gotta think about that. Hello from somewhere? I didn't see what flag that was. Everybody, yeah, that's a good idea. Put a flag in the chat of where you're from. It's always nice to see like what plant or what countries we're from. Hey PJ. PJ says hi.
Oh, hello. It's going so fast.
It is pretty
Oh,
fast.
I'm sorry. I'm like,
Let's see. Okay, perfect. Nice.
oh, there it goes.
Yeah, and if you're vegan, put a 1. Non-vegans, put a 2. If you're curious about veganism but just don't know where to go, hit number 3 and share your reason of what's maybe stopping you or what's making it difficult for you. No, you're scared we'll come to your country to do this. Unfortunately for you, there's veganism in every country.
Yeah.
Since it's inception of time, like people have been choosing not to harm and not to use animals. So you can probably find vegans in any country.
Yeah. And if we happen to be there in your country, we'll definitely come do this.
Mhm, yeah.
Give a shout out to you.
Well, I could definitely see us doing this for the rest of our lives type shit.
Yeah,
So if I'm anywhere, if I'm in any country, I'll probably be speaking about the animals. Veganic farming methods you're referring to? When I say that, I typically am just referring, because I honestly don't know too much about veganic farming. I just know that it's farming as a vegan, so you're pretty much, avoiding harm where you can. It's things like using preventative measures instead of reactionary measures, such as like extra fencing where needed. No Samoan vegans. We love corned beef. I'm actually Samoan, so that's really funny. Talofa. Samoan culture actually recognizes that animals have spirits and animals have power. It was, birds who brought the canoe to the islands and, taught us how to sail or gave us the ability to sail. So if you are really, about it, like it, you want to say you are, you would maybe want to reconnect with your indigeneity in a way that doesn't use others, because we recognize that they're powerful. They help us. We live, we're the same as them. So.
Yes, we're in Portland. We're at a different location today. We're in front of Pioneer Place
Oh,
Mall.
yeah.
It's kind of like a mall. It has all these like huge brand names and stuff. We got the Max that runs by us here. It gets kind of loud sometimes, but we've had some good conversations today off camera too.
Someone says, what would you say to the Native Americans whose culture teaches them to respect the animals that give them sustenance? I would say that's great, as long as we're also acknowledging that animals can't give us, their life. Like, we have to acknowledge that we're taking it. And that's actually what a lot of indigenous cultures do with subsistence, is we acknowledge that, this was, that's our situation and that's tragic. So we have to do this. And then in turn, they use every part of the animal as they can as a form of respect. But at the end of the day, we recognize that this is not something that we should be doing. Other lives are not ours to take. So why did God make animals? Same thing, same reason he made you. Did God make you for a reason?
And I don't know that we can actually like talk for God.
Yeah.
And the Bible is just a lot of interpretations
Mhm.
from people, and it's written by a lot of people. The main message is don't hurt anyone and treat people or individuals how you want to be treated. So would you want to be treated like the animal in the slaughterhouse that gets continually mutilated, tortured, and then eventually killed?
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Someone says, we have to eat something. Yeah, you can eat plants. We found, I don't know, I don't want to say thousands, but tons of studies that, point to us not needing animal flesh to live, or for protein or any nutrition reason. And, I have actually yet to see any valid justification for using any animal ever. So I would like maybe to see some of those in the chat.
So much like food that's not animal derivative that it's ridiculous. It's just that when you're raised in a culture that normalizes that and that's all you know, of course it's going to seem like, well, what else is there? It's just changing your routine to not hurt anyone else.
If you're agreeing that there is a valid justification for using somebody else's body, it has to be a justification for using somebody else's body in every context. That you then use the same justification to use you. So yeah, do you agree or disagree? Like, is there a valid justification or is there not? Because if there is, then I'm going to use that same one to use you. Provided I'm not vegan and I don't care about other people's sentience. Somebody said somebody is used when referring to a person, not an animal. But what are people? People are animals, right? Or if people are humans and humans are animals, then people are animals and animals are people. And then, somebody is an animal and animal is somebody. Like, it's just all arbitrary anyway. Definitions and stuff evolve as we go through time, and socialized people decide on different types of definitions all the time. Being vegan, killing more animals than if you weren't, which is not true. That's not true. It's just literally factually untrue. So, shake my head. We not animals, bro. Look it up. Literally type it in. Are humans animals? And you'll find you're wrong. Why do animals eat meat? Animals eat meat probably. There's actually animals that don't eat meat. There are herbivorous animals, but when you really look at it, there's what was I gonna say? Oh, there's herbivorous animals, and either way, oh yeah.
Okay. So I have to get going, lovely vegans. So I just want to say goodbye, and I will see you soon. So thank you. Bye.
Perfect. Yes, most animals are herbivores. Thank you, Daniel. I would have forgot what I was talking about. But yeah, most animals are herbivores. And even if humans are omnivores, right? If you know that you can live without taking the lives of other people, and just living off of plants. Like that's what you should do. I think a lot of people can agree that harming anybody is wrong. Taking an animal's life is wrong. So 8 years vegan, I do tell people the benefits of not contributing to factory farming. I mean, yeah. There are a lot of benefits of not contributing to factory farming. There's a lot of benefits to not contributing to farming in general, for you and the people who are, having violence perpetuated against them in that system.
Somebody asks, do you eat fish? So fish are also sentient. So when they're pulled out of the body of water that they live in, they experience suffocation and suffering, and their life is taken from them. So if we have another option than to put a fish through all of that, why wouldn't we choose the other option? Let us know. Somebody says, but in reality, we need meat. This is an empirical and scientific claim. So I want to see your empirical and scientific evidence to back this up. Paste the title of the study in the chat that shows that we need to eat other animals or their secretions for the human body to thrive.
How do you say eating animals is not murder if murder is required to eat animals? Carrot screams when you rip it from the ground. Do you think that? I hope you question why you're even stating that, right? Because are you saying, oh, I recognize that animals suffer, and so I want to say that plants suffer as well? Oh, perfect.
Do you want to interview?
Yeah. No, I'm good.
Awesome. All right. Anti-animal use. Here, I'll give you a card so you can have that. I'll have you stand right there in that square if you're willing to be on camera.
Set me up.
No, I don't. I hope not. If you feel uncomfortable, just you can walk away.
I'm never uncomfortable.
Okay. If you do feel like I'm tricking you, can walk away and tell me.
Oh no,
off.
I don't even know what I meant by that.
No, that's fair. Some people might try to trick you. I can understand that concern. And we're just asking people about the powerful versus the powerless. Actually, I'm sorry. My name's Anna. What's your name?
I'm Derek. Nice
Derek.
To meet you.
Lovely
Anna?
to meet you. Yeah, Derek. So the powerful versus the powerless. Do you think that someone who's maybe really smart or maybe they're really muscularly strong, do you think that gives them the right to oppress means to prolong cruel treatment? So essentially, do you think the powerful should have the right to use the powerless unfairly?
Of course not.
I agree. So that's just so we have a common ground. This next question might feel like the trick. What do you think about the animals that we send to slaughter or use for food, clothing, entertainment, like circuses or zoos or aquariums? Would you agree that we as humans are the powerful, oppressing the powerless?
Oh yeah, we've enslaved the animals for sure.
Yeah.
Also, though, to be fair, I am perfectly willing to eat animals, but I'm ambiguous about it for sure.
Yeah. So most people don't really think about it because it's so normal in our culture. And I honestly used animals for most of my life, and it wasn't until I realized what it was, what was behind it. Do you know the word vegan at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me what you understand about it. It's not a trick question. Whatever.
Oh, I know. You're good.
Okay,
Don't stress.
cool.
Don't stress. Well, vegan's got a bad connotation to a lot of people because vegans like to push their opinions, but it's to not eat meat, like in lower your impact kind of.
That is a side effect of it, but actually, veganism is an ethical stance against the exploitation of other sentient beings. So, if someone was exploiting you and against your will,
they certainly are.
They do. But let's say
That's why I don't pay taxes.
Let's say they were enslaving you.
Right?
Right?
They'd have a hard time doing that. They'd have to kill me.
Right, they have to, because you don't want that to happen, right? Me as a vegan, if someone was successful at doing that to you, I wouldn't want to support your oppressor. Personally, I'd try to get you out of there, but at bare minimum, I would not support your oppressor, right? Does that align with your own principles? Not demanding someone
definitely,
else? Yeah. So what we're saying is, there's not a difference between us and animals. Do you think that there's something we need that animals provide that might justify us using them?
Oh no, I'm friends with all the animals. We shouldn't use anything. I don't use things as tools, like not animate objects. So often we're used as tools, though. And we're used to looking at animals as tools. I'll agree with that, totally.
Exactly. You're hitting it right on the nose. We're objectifying them, right? We're seeing them as a means to an end, when they themselves are sentient beings. They are the end, right? They care about what happens to themselves. So what is stopping you? What in your mind justifies still picking up those animal products? Go ahead.
Well, I need protein. I work out constantly, and I was vegetarian for a while. I was sickly and not happy. But once I started eating meat again, I was a lot better. The doctor told me I had to have enough protein. I consume probably 300 grams of protein a day, so I eat a lot.
You can easily do that on a plant-based diet, but I want to
I would feel very different, and I can't eat soy because soy is garbage and it lowers my testosterone, and that's my favorite thing.
It actually doesn't. They have studies on this. It actually increases testosterone. There's a documentary called Game Changers, and they look at professional football players and they do tests on them based off plant-based diet or omnivorous diet.
But my personal, my test was low then and it's not low now. So personally, that's not true for me.
Okay. What if you found out you could get everything that you need and it would help your testosterone? Would you then find it to be a moral obligation?
I
to
eat
live
different
vegan?
plants than soy. I think we
fine.
like
You don't
hemp.
need to
I
eat
like
soy.
eating hemp.
Yeah, there's also seitan. That's the protein from wheat. There's pea protein.
With wheat. Wheat's garbage.
Well, what I'm saying is you can eat however you want. Yeah, I'm talking about those sentient beings. Do you think it's fair for them to lose everything because you don't like soy?
No, but my attention span's shot.
Mine too. I'm
We gotta wrap
super
it up.
I'm not diagnosed, but I definitely feel like I have attention deficit. I have to focus. So
I'm
what
not medicated. I haven't smoked a joint in a while.
Okay. I have nothing against
Mushrooms.
being medicated. I just want to ask though, like, if someone was kicking a dog for fun and entertainment, would you say, hey, that human's having a great time, they're getting benefits?
No, I would beat that person up.
Same. So all I'm saying is when you use animal products, you're telling the person that's abusing animals, I want you to do more of this because they're going to replace what you purchase.
But I don't pay for any product, so I don't support anything.
So are you getting your stuff from like food banks?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There's
And
actually,
communities, I eat at churches. Anything
Okay.
a church lady feeds me, I'll eat. I don't care what it is.
Fair enough.
If they put
So,
love in it.
There's actually a food bank, a vegan food bank here in Portland. It's on that card I gave you.
I'm sorry.
Well, so
There's no
imagine
chance.
if you were the victim and your oppressor said, I know that there's a way to not use them, but I'm going to use them anyway.
Gotta go. I appreciate your time, though.
Okay, just keep that in mind about the victims. What would you want your oppressor to do? You would want your oppressor to keep eating you and abusing you?
Well,
See, I think you're being dishonest. You know it's wrong. If you were bred, you know, we used to breed slaves. Does that make it okay to use someone because they're bred for a purpose?
That's what I was bred for. That's what I just said. They bred me.
Do you think that's fair?
So I'm a slave?
Yeah, should they keep
I'm not an
doing that?
economic slave. I
Should-
don't pay taxes.
Should other people be enslaved? Do you think that's fair? Obviously you don't. It's interesting when people are cowards. Yeah. Oh, it looks like this got me. Yeah, go for it.
I guess that guy did not care. Fortunate. Put a 1 in the chat if you are non-vegan, and put a 2 in the chat if you are vegan. Someone says, I like meat. Does the pleasure you get from consuming flesh, does that justify putting an animal through an exploitative system, you know, that ultimately ends up slaughtering them when you have other options? It actually doesn't cost more if you eat solely just whole food, plant foods, right? Like rice, beans, legumes, lentils, fruits, vegetables, right? It's actually 30% cheaper. And this was, there was actually a study done on it by Oxford University, and they looked at multiple diets, and they found that plant-based or vegan diets were actually 30% cheaper than all the other ones. So it's really about what you buy. If you're going out and buying Beyond Meat or Impossible Meat or whatever, you know, all the mock meats and the fancy vegan stuff, I guess, then yeah, that could add up and that could be more expensive. But if you're really just focusing on whole plant foods, then it's really not, or you know, it's not that expensive. 30% cheaper. So. Your body needs fish and meat. Okay, well, please provide evidence for that, that we need meat to survive, because the scientific data or literature or whatever says the opposite, actually. According to for one, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which is, one of the biggest nutrition groups, or whatever you want to call them, organizations. They state that a plant-based diet can be healthy at all stages of life. It's their position, including infancy, pregnancy. Elderly, So if, these nutritional organizations, these, whatever you want to call them, if they're stating that a plant-based diet can be healthy, if they're looking at the health outcome data and the science and stuff.
Scientific consensus.
Right. If that's what the consensus is, then what does that say?
Your anecdotal experience, based on like what you've got going on, isn't sufficient enough evidence to justify using animals when the scientific consensus says otherwise.
Right. Thank you. Elvin's better at putting things into words. Sometimes I'm like,
no, that all made sense. It's just like sometimes they may not catch it because they're just like trying to fight so hard already, like not believing what you say. Babies do not need meat. See, like that's y'all are stating that, not having looked it up or done the research.
Someone said, ever see a vegan weightlifter? And actually, yes, plenty. Patrick Baboumian, he's a bodybuilder. Hench Herbivore, I know he's on social media. He's a bodybuilder. To be honest, I'd have to look at other vegan athletes. I don't know them all off the top of my head.
I don't know any, but I know they're out there because like they're Olympians.
Right, exactly. And there also is another social media vegan activist. His name is emptycages.vegan. I follow him. He actually used to be a hunter, and then he went vegan, and he advocates and talks about that. But he does tons of weightlifting, and I think he does some martial arts. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but yeah, he's always posting about his weightlifting and his progress, and he's a pretty big dude. So
someone's saying, are oysters vegan? If you don't know if somebody's sentient or has like an experience, you would want to err on the side of caution and not use them or not kill them if you're thinking they might, live and breathe and think.
Right. It's just about being like, I don't know if we have sufficient evidence that says one way or another whether oysters are sentient or not, but there's a possibility there. So what we do is we just take the precautionary measure and be like, okay, so if they are potentially sentient, then I'll just eat these other things that I know aren't sentient for a fact.
Someone's saying that it's like mushrooms and plants are sentient. It's like, no, they're not. And even if they were, you would want to like reduce their harm, right? By not harming animals and breeding them into existence to eat those plants that you think are sentient. You could stop doing that and harm less plants if that's really what you were worried about. But I don't think that is. I think you're worried about furthering your ability to exploit animals without feeling bad. And you can't do both.
I'm confused what this comment is saying. This one.
Our bodies evolved around mixed diets from Homo habits onwards, and of course it's the most efficient for our biology because we evolved for it and not to avoid it. That's all over the place. Just because we evolved from some...
Oh, I'll let you. I've done two.
I'll do it, yeah. Okay. Hi. Here's our boxes. I don't know if you mind standing in that.
That one.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah, what's up?
I'm Elvin.
All right, I'm Zachary.
Nice to meet you.
Right on.
How was your day? I guess I'll start with...
I just came from my friend's sister's memorial.
Oh, I see. Well,
yeah, that's why I'm dressed nice.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, shoot.
But it made me appreciate.
I hope it was a nice service.
Yes,
yeah.
it was. It was
really
very
good.
nice.
I'm glad to hear.
Yeah.
We're out here today talking about oppression and the powerful versus the powerless, as well as animals. So, what do you think about this question? Like, should the powerful have the right to oppress the powerless?
Well, I think we're all powerful.
Yeah.
I just think that some aren't showing it. Some don't have the means to be as powerful. But no, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. No, you shouldn't fuck with someone.
Yeah, just because you have that power.
Yeah. You shouldn't be fucking with other people.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're all on the same level.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, literally. All the sign is supposed to point out is that there are arbitrary reasons that people use to, oppress others or use other people, and that like we're not okay with that. You know, like we stand up to that. We see that as an injustice, and so where opinions start to differ because there's some cultural standings currently about it, but like using animals for food or entertainment, typically people will agree that like dog racing is wrong.
Never been my jazz.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like, I don't know, it's just crazy. But it's a little more obvious in that situation that like, these are sentient beings, dogs feel, think, and dream and, form communication.
Yeah, look at that dog. That dog's awesome.
Form connections with people and,
Right.
they have their own interests, right? But it's a little harder to see in like situations where, people are maybe like growing their chickens or growing their pigs for like consumption and breeding them for like stuff like that. So all we were doing is asking people, how do they feel about that?
So you don't like people having chickens?
Well, like people taking care of chickens, right? Like that would be great.
Yeah.
But like using chickens as like a resource to produce like eggs, we would like necessarily be against that because I don't know. There's lots of reasons. Like,
Well, chickens are going to be chickens.
Well, yeah,
If you just
but-
let the chicken be a chicken, then it's cool, right?
Well, yeah, but like, and they'll lay those eggs. But
Yeah.
what we do with those eggs is then like what we bring into question. Like, are we selling those for profit, or are we feeding them back to the chicken? Because I don't know if you know that there's in the egg industry. Have you heard about anything really that I know goes on?
I mean, I know eggs are expensive nowadays.
It's kind of hidden, but if you think about it, how much would you say? How many of the chicks would you say probably come out male? Or like get sexed male as male? I can just let you know too if you don't.
All right, just let me know.
It's 50%.
All right.
So it's like it's about the same as
And I know they like one. I know one you eat, the other you don't, right?
Yeah. Well, like so egg-laying hens, right? They have to be female.
Right.
And so what happens to the males in the industry is that they're essentially put into a blender. Like there's just like a macerator
Right, I know
on the
that.
conveyor belt,
Yeah.
like as soon as they hatch. So there's a lot of harm that goes into that industry just from its existence,
Yeah.
right? And so, and these systems are they all work together, right? Is basically what I mean to say. And so participating in that system by like purchasing chickens to raise and grow for the purpose of food or using them, I would argue would be seen as oppression because like it's prolonged cruel treatment. Their life should be. I believe their life should be, in my personal. It may not be yours, but like I believe that they should live their life without any human expectation placed upon them.
So my neighbor has like 5 chickens, and they just kind of roam around the corner. Like they have like a fence that they stay in, but like I was walking to the store today to get milk, and chicken was just walking in the street. And then I was just like, and then it just hopped back over into the yard. So that chicken's just being a chicken.
Well, yeah, but when we think about like if we think of that chicken as an individual, right, whose life inherently matters,
Right.
It's really dangerous that they're out on the road, right?
Well-
if it was a toddler, right? They've proved that chickens.
But
have
if it was a 12-year-old, the 12-year-old would know better to not get hit by a car. I think this chicken knows pretty well by now that he's used to his environment, that he knows what cars are.
Well, yeah, but we can't know that for sure, and we obviously know that like, or
But you
I feel like
gotta
we would
trust the
agree that.
chicken.
Yeah, and like, can we trust chickens to make decisions for that for themselves? We know that they don't understand how a car works. They don't understand, the road maybe.
I mean, not like we do, but they still. I mean, the chicken would, like when I was walking down the sidewalk, the chicken got out of the way. Like when a car came down, the chicken got out of the way. Like
Well, yeah, but that's like them reacting. It doesn't necessarily mean that, I guess I'm failing to see how that would justify, them being owned by somebody, right?
Well, it seemed like they were pretty free to me. Like they had the option just to leave.
I mean, I don't know. It's just like you could use that justification for anybody else as well. Like, in any other situation where somebody's being oppressed.
Okay.
And so like when we start to use apply those justifications to and measure them up and see if they hold up in other situations, it's not the same. So like when I bring up if it was a child instead, things maybe have to change. Like we're thinking about, oh well, if it was a child, they would be able to step out of the way. But okay, so what if it's a child who's not able to step out of the way, who doesn't understand, cognitively impaired humans, right, who don't understand those things, we would still value their life.
So would taking the child who doesn't know any better out of the way be oppressing them?
No, it would be enacting moral agency, right?
Okay.
Like acknowledging that they may not know any better. So we're taking care of them in this way, and our intent is to better their life.
All right. So what are you trying to? What is the main point you're trying to get at?
The main point, right, is that okay. Well, I guess have you heard of veganism before?
Yeah.
At all? What would because there's a lot of misconceptions about it. So I just asked people what their understanding of it is as now, as of everything they've collected throughout their life. What would you say your definition of veganism is?
A little more hardcore than a vegetarian.
Right. Okay, so and there.
But I know vegans don't eat eggs.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I do know that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that has probably a heartbeat or an embryo or nothing that vegan
It's
everything
pretty
that
close.
just grows out of the ground.
It's close. Yeah. So veganism, right? Because I guess let's frame it as the difference to vegetarianism, right? Vegetarianism is a diet, right? It's a type of diet, just like pescatarianism, a carnivore diet, plant-based, right? Those are diets. Veganism is an ethical stance against the idea that sentient beings who think, feel, or whatever, have subjective experiences,
right.
Should be exploited or should be used for human benefit or benefit of anybody, right? And so as a consequence of that, that's where we then start to not eat meat, or we end up taking on plant-based diets, because that's the furthest way you can exit yourself out of that cycle of harm.
Okay.
And so I guess that would be the biggest difference between those two, and kind of help see the point of veganism beyond food, because there's the reason that vegans don't go to zoos, because it's confinement of animals.
So what's your diet, if I may ask?
I have a 100% plant-based diet currently.
Okay.
And I am vegan. I like to separate the two because some people it gets confusing.
Right. No, I understand that. I can understand the difference.
Because somebody who's maybe living in subsistence, they would still have vegan values as long as they're acknowledging that they're taking sentient being life,
right.
For their subsistence, and maybe they use all of the animal to respect, to try and respect them in that way, after acknowledging so. But it's the mindset that makes somebody vegan. You could go vegan right now and decide that you are going to start viewing all animals as sentient beings and giving them inherent value, and then your next steps would probably be, oh well, maybe I want to take on more plant-based options because or see where I can fit those in, because I recognize that I'm trying to treat chickens more as they have personhood now. So I see that I don't know, maybe I watch out more for my neighbor's chickens who are running into the road because I'm seeing them as sentient beings.
Yeah. I mean, I love the little. I mean, I'm not going to eat a cat.
Right. And so what draws that line for you? What trait do cats have, would you say, that makes you not want to eat them? Is it just
willing to cuddle?
Right.
Chickens aren't willing to cuddle.
Certain ones are. Have you seen chickens on
I personally haven't, but maybe there are.
The chickens, and it's sad because a lot of chickens that we do see, they're being viewed as objects, right?
Right.
Like your neighbor's chickens,
product.
they probably see them as product, which is why they're allowed to roam into the street, and because they'll probably just see a profit replacement. They're just okay, we'll just buy a chick anyway. The Wilco got.
But what if you name the chicken and love it?
It's then you're just creating cognitive dissonance for yourself, because then they spend their life raising the chicken and feeling like they're bonding with them, and at the end of the life, it's kind of like the ultimate sense of betrayal for the chicken, right? If we think about it from their perspective, because they're oh, I thought I had a name and everything.
But what if they don't eat it after it's dead and it just dies?
If they just die, then we would just call that successful caretaking, right?
Right.
You've rescued an animal, you probably didn't, like, you wouldn't pay for them, right? Because like when we go to the animal rescue shelter, we rescue somebody because we acknowledge that like breeding, going to breeder is there's so many beings out there who are.
So, like I said, my neighbor has chickens, but I have friends who've owned chickens, and they've always brought them in during a heat wave and in during like a really cold snap, like inside, to make sure they don't die because they love their chickens.
Well, yeah. Well, like we can, but like, are they also like aware that they're protecting their like product, like their eggs, like?
Yeah, but they don't sell the eggs. They just utilize what the chickens provide.
And I would say honestly, it would just be weird to me. Like I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, I guess I would judge a little bit because to me it'd be like if your cat pooped out eggs every week, like you would find that weird to like grab her egg and like crack it up. Maybe you wouldn't, but like. Just like the principle of like using somebody else's like.
But you can't make an omelet out of cat poop. You can make an omelet out of an egg.
I mean, but you could technically make it out of cat poop. Like, and you could use spices to spice it up and say it tastes good, and then you could build an industry breeding cats, off their cat poop. Like, it's what I'm saying is like.
I know.
It's also arbitrary, and it's also. I don't know.
There's protein in eggs.
But there's protein. There's protein in plants, though.
But there's not protein in cat poop.
I mean, probably not. No. But like, you could supplement the protein in the cat. But like,
the point is, provides energy.
The point. Well, yeah, but I mean, you could say the cat provides energy. Like, if you literally like, there's places and cultures all across the world, right, who use different animals, and either way, like, none of that justifies, right? Because they're like used to doing so, or because those animals are considered food in that culture, right? Like it doesn't justify then using them because.
So have you ever listened to like mushrooms make vibration music?
Yeah.
So do you eat mushrooms?
Yes.
But they make music.
But they're not like, they don't have a central nervous system. Like, but I feel like we only bring that up.
But fungus is intelligent.
We only ever bring that up in opposition to like thinking about plants or
I'm
thinking about animal sentience.
Not opposition. I'm just bringing it up as well. I mean, have you ever seen like I watched a video about how fungus mapped the subways in Tokyo.
Oh
faster.
yes.
Yeah, have you seen that? Mm-hmm. So they're intelligent.
But those are like it's cells reacting to stimuli versus like a brain with a central nervous system having like a full experience. Does that make sense? Like plants can react to outside stimuli, right?
So are you wanting people to just go plant-based?
I mean, the idea is for people to go vegan, right? Because as soon as they're like, if you make the mindset change, right, of animals or dismantling this hierarchical system, right, of human greater than animal, and recognizing that we're all animals at the end of the day.
Right.
So like we should use our power to with responsibility and take other animals out of the equation of predation, right?
But if you think about it like this, if cannibalism was widely accepted, there would be no world hunger.
Well, but it would still be wrong to eat others.
But no one would be hungry.
Well, yeah, but I guess I'm failing to see how that like, if nobody would be hungry, then like I don't know what.
So some people don't have access to plants.
Yeah.
But if you could eat your loved ones, I don't know. All I know is how to treat people with respect and dignity. That's all I can do.
Yeah.
Is love the chicken, love the cat, love the mushroom, but...
Yeah. And so all we ask is like, can we say we treat animals with respect and dignity if we like breed and slaughter them for entertainment or purpose or other purposes?
People? No. A person? Yes.
Like, how does that...
People are a group.
Yeah.
Like, people as a whole? Probably not. An individual person? Can.
Yeah.
So,
and so like
all I can do as a person is do me.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna, I'll respect my neighbor's chicken.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna eat it.
Yeah. And then like all we ask is that like you extend that or like think about why you don't extend that like courtesy to every animal or every other being, and like maybe like why that is, or if like you can even find that like that specific trait difference, because your 15-minute meal to us is like an animal's entire life. So I feel like it's important for us, or just in my opinion at least, it's important for me to take into account all that they had to give up for that meal. And so in doing so, I come to the conclusion that just eating plants is much easier for me, especially like living in Portland or living in Washington. Like, I have access to a grocery store. There's tons of tofu, beans, rice, noodles. Like, that's already all plant-based stuff.
Right.
And it's just switching out the meat and the eggs for maybe the plant-based alternative meat and egg, because like, you just don't want to participate in that anymore. But yeah, I don't know.
All right, no,
I don't want to like overwhelm you either, because it's a lot to talk about, and I feel like I'm preaching a bit.
All I can do is I'm just responsible for me.
Yeah.
So I can't control anyone else, but
Yeah.
I understand that you're trying to get across, that fucking with anything that's not plants is seen as the powerful overpowered.
And so like we can't, if we're using that power in harmful ways, like we can't respect or give dignity to anybody, at least in our personal, even in our personal life. Like, say if I believe that, because like we go to slaughterhouses, we see like the chickens on the trucks, like they're missing feathers, they're obviously cold, they come from Southern Oregon, so they've been on I-5 for super long. And so like, I know that I can't respect, or I feel like I myself cannot respect those chickens, or say that I respect chickens as a whole, or just others as a whole, if I'm allowing that.
How would you respect chickens?
And
still have them around.
I practice chickens by just like taking care of them,
Right.
Seeing them as like, like I know that egg-laying hens, their bodies, they've been genetically bred to produce as many eggs as they do.
Right.
So like wildfowl pre-colonization, right, would maybe give out 13 eggs, or excrete 13 eggs throughout the year, maybe. And now it's you can do maybe one a day, and that's I don't know, it's really horrific. And so I think about how feeding those eggs back to that hen is actually how they're supposed to maybe have a fighting chance to live their whole life, because otherwise their like nutrition and their health is just going to like slowly decline, because there's so much output of the nutrients to make the egg, right?
Right.
And they're not getting it back, because it's hard to get that much back when you've been genetically bred to produce that many. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like you just take care of them, and you try to live their life just like you would a dog you rescue, a cat you rescue. You just live alongside them, and you monitor them, you learn about them, you find their personalities, you get them all cuddly with you, because they will. Like, I've seen so many. We have some friends at like a Zen Hen sanctuary. Actually, it's in Oregon. I forget. I think it is in Portland. I just forget which section. But
right.
Yeah, like all her roosters, like her chickens or her hens, like they all have different personalities and names, and you get to see like a life that these animals could have that they've been robbed of, because we see them as food, just simply as that. Like, we just see them as objects.
Can you see them as equals but still eat their eggs? And is that still a problem?
I mean, like, I guess I say like you could, and like personally, I would probably just question it, because I would say like, oh, are you really taking it into account that these are just beings, like they were genetically bred to breed that many eggs? Like, as long like if you know that, and you're still wanting to eat their like excrement, basically, like that's up to you. As long as they're not being exploited, you're not making profit off their eggs. Like,
I mean, that's like saying that seed you planted, you're eating its torso.
Well, yeah, but they actually don't. Well, they don't actually have a torso like that. Then that would be like.
But then I don't look at chickens as it's their poop. I just look at it as it's protein.
Well, yeah, but like we're calling it but that's like, so like with the plant situation, they don't have a torso. We're calling it a torso. The egg, like it is excrement. We're calling it something else. Like it is their byproduct, Like it is their period, basically, but we call it something else so that we can see it as food, you know?
All I can do is treat others the way I'd want to be
Yeah,
treated.
no worries. I want to give you just this card,
All right.
and I'll let you get out of here, and maybe just...
I'm
hopefully-
happy we had a conversation. No, that's
too,
cool.
me
I
too.
mean, yeah, it's just... I guess I haven't thought about it the way you're presenting it.
Yeah, no, and
So
honestly,
it's nice,
I hadn't
nice
either.
It's nice to have a viewpoint that I haven't thought of
Haven't
in
heard.
a while.
Yeah.
Well, I
Or
mean,
haven't-
I've had
Thoughts of it. Everybody does, and that's like the point. That's the point that I try to get
But I
to.
appreciate you bringing this to my attention in a different light.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just ask you, how many animals would you prefer to be exploited for your purpose, like after our conversation today? Like,
how many?
Like, just how many would you like? Like, literally. in
I
your
mean,
opinion.
I can, like I said, I can only control me,
Mm-hmm.
so I am not going to exploit any animals personally.
Yeah.
But I'll still eat the fuck out of a steak.
But then that cow's exploited.
Potato.
But
I'm sorry, bro. What was your name?
I'm Elvin.
Zachary. All right.
No worries.
Thank you for the
I
conversation.
just encourage you to look into them.
Hey, I got the card.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you very much.
Thank you.
You want a hand on real quick? I could talk to chat. We were trying to recruit one more person for an interview. We're down to like the last one.
Okay.
Hi to all the vegans who are here. Hello to the non-vegans. Everyone who's here, continue double tapping the screen and sharing the live. I'm going to ask vegans, put a 1 in the chat. Vegans, put a 1. Non-vegans, put a 2 in the chat. Non-vegans, put a 2 in the chat. And trolls, put a 3. Just so we can get an idea of who's here. Somebody says, Elvin, you are amazing. I agree, Elvin is amazing. Seeing lots of 2s. So these are non-vegans who are here in the room with us. And I want to engage you in a conversation. Not necessarily here to spar or argue, but I want to ask, what justifies treating animals as objects to be used when we don't need to use them? What do you think? Put your response in the chat. To anybody who's joined more recently and is curious where we are, we're here in Portland, Oregon at the Pioneer Place Mall. And we're having discussions about animal ethics. Somebody says, do you guys have a favorite book about animal rights? Oh, that's a good question. There's so many good ones. One that I was reading recently is called Beasts of Burden. I am blanking on the author's name, but it goes over disability justice as well as animal justice and the interconnections between these movements. Very enlightening, so I do recommend Beasts of Burden. Somebody says, do chickens have claw-eye coordination? What's the relevance of this? Would it be more acceptable to use them or kill them if they didn't have this coordination? There are many humans who don't have hand-eye coordination or other forms of coordination. Would it be more justified to use or exploit those humans for that reason? What do you think? We're asking folks about animals and ethics here in Portland. If we could watch a nature documentary, how could we justify contributing to the zoo and the elephants being confined? If we could simply pick up a bag of beans at the grocery store or a mock meat, why would we pick up a piece of animal flesh that caused an animal to be exploited and killed? Why would we put an animal through something we'd never want to go through ourselves if we have another option? Let me know your justification in the chat so that I can address some of them now. Somebody says, what about Muslim ethics? So there are many Muslim vegans. The religion doesn't mandate that Muslims consume animals or their secretions. So for Muslim people, much like non-religious people, it's a choice. And why would we choose to exploit other animals when we don't need to? Let me know your thoughts. Not necessarily here to argue, but just opening up this conversation. Somebody says animals are delicious. So do you think the sensory satisfaction, the pleasure that you get on your tongue when you're consuming an animal's flesh or their secretions, do you think it justifies the violence that the animals endure for that choice? Do you think it justifies the exploitation? Let me know. Somebody says, what if we are also animals? That is true. Humans are another animal, but Unlike animals, like say bears, for instance, who require the consumption of animal flesh to thrive, they don't have a supermarket, a grocery store, or a farmer's market. We do have those things. We have choice. And we're asking, should we exercise choice to not participate in an animal's exploitation if we can? Why wouldn't we, is the question I'm asking you.
Someone said humans are omnivorous by nature. And okay, so if we are omnivores, right? Being omnivorous doesn't mean you need to consume both meat and plants. It means you can. So if we can just consume one or the other, why not choose the one that doesn't cause, harm and suffering to another sentient being? There's also, some research and science to back up that, we are kind of more. I'm not necessarily here to make that argument, but our bodies physiologically are closer to, well, in a lot of ways, closer to those herbivorous animals as opposed to. We have long digestive tracts. For digesting plant matter. Our jaws move side to side for grinding plant matter. Our teeth are blunt. And yeah, we have our canines incisors, but typically those, are good for biting into things like apples and, fruits and stuff. So
somebody asked, what about eggs? And this is a good question because we don't hear a lot about the exploitation and the suffering involved in the egg industry. But there's a few things that are hidden from the public, and I'm going to discuss them now, and then I want you to tell me if you think this sounds fair. So in the egg industry, the birds are mass bred, and the birds that are males and intersex, they're seen as disposable and useless to the egg industry, as they'll never produce eggs. So they're discarded and killed by putting them, while they're conscious and alive, into a blender at 1 day of age. That's the first layer of exploitation within eggs. The next layer is that all of the females who are used in the industry, their ancestors laid about an egg every month. But the chickens who are laying eggs in factory farms today, they've been selectively bred and genetically manipulated. So they're laying about an egg every single day, actually. Do you think it's fair to demand a bird push an egg out of their body every day for you? And then the third layer of exploitation is that when these birds stop laying an egg every day, when their egg production declines at about 18 months old, they are killed, just like all the animals are in the flesh industries. So do you think it's fair to take a bird's life from them at 18 months old when you didn't need to, when they would have otherwise lived 5 or 10 years? Does that sound just or fair to you? If you think it is just, put the justification in the chat so that we can address them.
Someone asked about honey, and honey is still exploitative. First off, bees, there is research to back that they have been shown to display signs of pessimism. So bees are sentient, right? And that maybe small little insects, but right, the study was showing that they were able to display signs of pessimism and even memorize faces and whatnot. We don't need to exploit them for that reason. Obviously, they're sentient, or we want to avoid that. But honey, for example, it's a bee's food, right? So I'm not sure the exact process. I think they get it from plants, right, or nectar, or pollen or whatever, and when it goes into their stomach, they have certain enzymes that mixes with that, and then they regurgitate it, and it becomes honey.
It becomes their food source that they depend on.
Right, and they also use it in their hives as well, and they also share it with others. They pass it on through their mouths.
So why exploit bees and steal their food source when we could just use a different sweetener, such as maple syrup? Somebody says chickens don't care. Do you not think chickens want to continue their life? If you poke a chicken, do they not run the other way? Do they not vocalize and insist that they aren't okay with this? Okay.
Do you guys want to end it here?
Oh, are we thinking about ending it right here?
Oh, wait, what time is it actually? I'm sorry.
3:55.
Yeah.
Yeah?
We should call it here. I did have another conversation, but
All
I
right.
didn't want to be on camera.
All right. I think
guys
we're going to be ready. We're getting ready to wrap up, folks. So if you have any concluding thoughts or arguments that you want us to address right now, real quick, continue posting them in the chat. Sorry.
Oh, to the left.
Somebody says woke Jew. So we stand against anti-Semitism, and we also stand against Zionism, and I believe in a free Palestine. But this is actually a sidestep of conversation that we're having here today. We're talking to folks about animals and ethics. Is it ethical to exploit the animals we share this planet with when we don't need to? What do you think? I'm not Jewish.
Someone said, "Don't you think you're arguing from a place of?"
I'm an atheist.
Someone said, "Don't you think you're arguing from a place of privilege?" And I'd honestly beg the question: what can be more privileged than having the option to choose? You know, whether you want to harm an animal, or like choose to harm an animal when you don't need to. You know, obviously there's maybe people in certain situations that genuinely can't be plant-based or, you know, consume only just plants. Maybe they do need some kind of animal flesh or protein or whatnot for survival. But to people that can, you know,
The people
like
not in the
us,
woods,
like
in the middle of the
you,
woods.
you know, obviously you're using a phone. I'm assuming you have access to a grocery store and whatnot. You know, what can be more privileged than basically deciding someone's entire fate, having someone's life in your hand to decide just because I want to, you know, get 15 minutes of sensory pleasure that, you know, that justifies me, you know, taking their entire life from them.
Any racism will not be tolerated in this space. So if you're here to spread just vile racism, you will be blocked. Somebody says, why isn't it immoral to eat plant life? Because plants aren't sentient. They don't care about what happens to them in the way that animals do. They don't suffer. They don't have a brain or a central nervous system like animals do. I think you know this because there's a difference between putting a pig in a gas chamber and a pumpkin. I think you know that. All right, we're wrapping up here.
Hey guys, all right. So VSL here, Vegan Stoner Lady. I don't know if everyone wants to climb in behind me, or maybe you don't. Whatever you want to do. So anti-animal use here. We're in front of the Pioneer Place Mall again. We actually had some really great conversations on and off camera, so I'm really excited. That was really great. I was sad that we didn't have the TV, but it worked out with just the signs. Like these actually are amazing. So go check out the Radical Vegan. These are her designs. They're amazing, and she gives them out for free. Maybe support her, send her a few dollars. Anyway, I'm gonna pass them around the mic, and we're all gonna say goodbye to you. Thank you, all you vegans and all the mods. I really appreciate you being there and helping us out, keeping it safe, answering questions that we don't get to. With that, do you want to go first?
Okay.
You can just say, you know, who you are, and you can pass it.
Hi, anti-animal use, Pam here. We're really happy everybody's watching. Thank you very much.
I'm Nick, also known as Grass-Fed Human on Instagram and TikTok, and that's grassfed_human. You can check out my social media there. And I keep saying this, I'm meaning to start posting on YouTube, so same handle, so you can check that out as well.
If you want to find more of Elvin and I's activism, we are at Total Liberation Now on both Instagram and YouTube. We're trying to get a few more subscribers on YouTube so we can hit 15 more precisely to reach the live stream requirement. So please do subscribe over at Total Liberation Now. My Instagram is at genderless.enigma. And I also want to say, if there's any non-vegans who were engaging with this conversation and you're still considering this and thinking about it, please subscribe to Anti-Animal Use because we have these conversations regularly. So, yeah, thank you to all the vegans. Thank you to the mods.
Yeah. I also just want to say, if you're doing any other social justice work that you think is important, it probably applies to, you know, animals too. Like, there's so many ways that oppressions are interconnected, and you can read all about it and research it, and I don't know, find your way to vegan social justice as well. So I encourage y'all to do that. I'm Melvin. I think that's pretty much it.
That wraps it up.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. So with that, we're just going to end it, and we'll see you next week. All right, guys. Thank y'all. Bye. Have a good vegan day.